before we start the interview, I had to make sure that, you're as radical as we not radical. You're the type of person that, like, we're looking for, because if you have my same viewpoints, there's no reason to do the interview. So, if you could
Yeah,
just quickly tell me, why do you feel like you personally support, Palestine?
and because it's just and the just thing to do. Like if you're looking for justice, that's the way to go, basically. And if you're
Okay.
looking for truth, also that's the way to go.
Okay. And when you were talking to my brother on Instagram, what do you feel like he was not understanding?
Uh, so basically, I forgot exactly what because like you know, it was a while ago also,
Mhm.
but I felt that he's uh, repeating some of the misinformation that the Israelis or the Zionist government is just spewing, and he can't see the full picture basically. But I like that he said that he's trying to learn more and understand more about
Yeah.
the situation, which is because I'm not again uh, like I'm looking to talk about justice and the truth. I'm not looking to fight someone or have a debate or all these sorts of things. I'm basically trying to like
If you're looking
show
for
my
the
point of view.
I understand the justice aspect, and I see behind you have ceasefire, like, liberation. Like, I get all that. So with all my interviews, well, the ones that I did before, I was also trying to, like, well, first I was trying to understand a pro-Palestine view the same way my brother was. Like, I've done, I would listen for people for like 30 minutes, an hour, just like their entire perspective, and I did this multiple times. So, and that's because,
Yeah.
I have a pro-Israel viewpoint. So it's not fair for me to not know the other perspective. Um, the misinformation thing, I've been tricked by misinformation too, on the Israeli
Mhm.
side, in the Ukraine war, like a bunch of other things. So the best way is communication, and my problem is that with people who are pro-Palestine, like when I go to rallies and stuff and I try to talk to them, they never want to talk, and that kind of frustrates me. So I'm really happy that you're having this discussion. Like, I'm truly happy. You're one of the few people who do this. I
Yeah.
just want you
I
to know.
mean, and one thing I want to point out is that I don't see it as, and I'm sure a lot of people see it the same way I see it, is that it's not a football game. It's not pro-Palestine, pro-Israelis, and because that makes it seem that you're just gonna stick with whatever you're like you're supporting no matter what. Because if you're supporting a team, for example, whatever the coach does, if they put a wrong, plan for the game or they did something, whatever, or a team player did something unethical or, whatever it
Unfortunately,
is,
it kind I see your
you're
point.
still gonna,
It is kind of teams. Unfortunately, there are the people, like, in the center who want both people to stop dying. I see that too. But I see the 3 different teams. There's the people who are, like, more Muslim, leaning, like, more Muslim or people in that region who will support Palestine. Like, I have some people, friends from Pakistan, they're supporting, Palestine, and then they don't know a lot of the information about the conflict, but they're still supporting them just because of who they are. Then you have like pro-Israel people, and then you have like Christians, liberals who are kind of more leaning towards supporting Israel, but also now wanting more debts on on the Palestinian side. And then you have leftist, like socialists, who are using the debts of the Palestinian people to further their agenda of destroying Israel and also destroying the United States. They want both of those to be destroyed. So they're saying that they're pro-Palestine, but they're actually just trying to they're using the media to garner more support for the destruction of Israel. They don't care about the Palestinians at all. A lot of the people that you're seeing who are on the marches, there are a lot of Muslims. They care for the people of Gaza, but a lot of the leftists, like the white feminist liberals, they don't give a fuck about the debts there. They're just trying to use that as an excuse to destroy Israel the same way they want America destroyed. So those are the three sides that I see after with all the interviews that I did.
yeah. Yeah, I'm not sure about that because I didn't have, maybe you have more information about that because you spoke to more people. But I'm just saying how I see it is that it's basically, for me, it's not a football match. It's more of standing with justice and the truth. It doesn't matter which side it's on. It's just because I don't want to be seen as just a biased person that will just defend whatever is biased to without without actual meaningful reasons for
Of
that.
course. And speaking of justice, would you say that you supported the resistance on October 7th?
I didn't support the resistance. I can't comment on the resistance. I have like I can say okay like uh there might be something wrong or like I have a personal view that I don't like violence in general. Uh I have my own views, but I can't comment on people that have been like freaking besieged for years. They haven't seen a day of freedom in years. I
Well,
can't really comment on that.
a lot of people say that because they've been colonized and oppressed and they've been genocided and they live in an apartheid state, then their only means of getting out of that is through resistance, and October 7 was a manifestation of that resistance. So that's
Yeah.
what a lot of pro-Palestinian supporters are saying. I could understand it. So what do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, what my point of view is, if that's the only, I'm not like I can't really tell because I'm not in their actual position if that's uh like how it was or that only means. I know about that they're actually been oppressed, that they haven't seen a day of freedom, and they're being genocided. All these things, these are all true,
Were they
but
only oppressed by the Jews? I see what you're saying. Were they only oppressed by the Jews or the Muslims or some other Muslim nations too?
basically how I see it is. Um, it's not about the Jews because, like you sure know, it's a lot of Jews are with the Palestinians,
Or
basically
Israel,
with
or
the
the state of
justice.
Israel. We could say the state of Israel.
The state of Israel has been monopolizing the whole region, and you should know that, like by talking to as many people and like doing a small research, because like since the conflict, like I don't like to call it conflict, but since this whole thing started, it's been like back and forth with so many countries, all these wars, all these things. But at the end, Israel has been able to basically neutralize all the countries or all the Arab countries that were initially against it. So, for example, Egypt. Egypt can act all it wants that it is, oh, it's with the Palestinians as a government. I mean, it's not as people. People, they're different, but as a government, they can act all it wants that it's, oh, I'm with the Palestinians, oh, we're against Israel and all of that. But in reality,
I don't think the government is against. Yeah, I think in reality the government made a truce with Israel to get the
yeah,
Sinai Peninsula
but
back.
even though there is a like because that's how governments work, right?
Yes.
Even in any country, they would say something in front of the people just to satisfy what the people want. But in reality, what they're actually doing is something else, like with like with the counterparts or like with the other countries, the agreements and all these things. So we like, for example, in Egypt, Egypt has an agreement, a peace agreement uh, with uh, uh, with Israel uh, that is in place that gives Israel a lot of control or a lot of power over Egypt, basically. And so Egypt cannot say anything, even if they want to.
Okay.
Uh, and same thing goes with Egypt was the first country to normalize with Israel, and then it was like
And then
it happened with all
Jordan.
the other countries,
Yeah.
with all the other countries around the region, and they can't. No one can do anything. So yes, they are oppressed by the other countries as well, but it is because of Israel that this happened, basically.
Well, what I noticed is that it's never the fault of the brown people or the Muslim people, other Muslim nations. It's only the fault of the white Israelis. That's what I noticed. So when Syria
It
does a
is.
civil war, when Lebanon does a civil war, but that debate, you're right. The problem is you're right. The problem is you're not wrong. You're right, and the problem is I'm right too. It's just like the thing that we focus on. The question is, what are we gonna do with this fact that you just said? Let It's a fact. Okay, Israel is influencing the Middle East, and they're controlling Egypt, so then they don't have to keep going to wars with Egypt and Jordan and all the other Muslim nations. Okay, but they're using their power, dominance, control. They're doing all of that. My question to you is, we need to have a the way that I do these interviews. I don't let the other person just like control the interview because no progress is made. We just talked for 13 minutes, right? What progress was made? Nothing was made. I don't do these interviews so then we could just like fact, 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 fact. I know all the facts, you know all the facts, right? And you're smart. You know this topic inside and out. It's not going to change anything because nothing has changed. So we need to have a common goal. That's usually my first step. What could be our common goal in this discussion? It could be if your goal, for example, is to destroy Israel, right? And my common goal is to destroy Gaza, right? Which is not it's not my goal. But if that is, the goals don't match, right? Me and you need to have a common goal. So, what do you think would be a good common goal for both of us to have? The ones that I have with other people is um, eliminating the amount of debts that we have right now in this war. That's one goal in
I
Gaza.
mean, that's that's a basic goal that no one should argue about or should have a
No, 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 no.
problem with.
People argue that pro-Palestinian people argue that goal because me and them we agree on that goal in the beginning, and then later on they're like, well, actually, I think October 7 was justified, and I think they should keep doing more of that. And they know that Israel will keep doing the strikes. They know they will keep doing the strikes.
So, so basically, what's happening? So let's do this so we don't have like a derailed conversation. You're the one who's like basically uh, uh, having the whole like discussion. It's your interview, so I want you to say like what do you want to get out of it from your point of view, and we'll start a discussion in that way. Like for example, you'll be like I want to like basically get like out of this interview. I want to show that my point of view is correct about this, whatever, or I want to achieve. Like I want you to be the one who's saying what we need to get out of this conversation, and I'll tell you my point of view.
Okay. Thank you. And it all has to stem from this goal thing, a common goal. My goal from this interview is for us to achieve our goal, which is for me, it's agree upon a way where we could stop the fighting. Obviously, if people were able to do that before, we would have done it already. But I think um, I have a certain way that I want to achieve this. So my common goal is how do we stop the deaths in Gaza? That's I want to stop the killing of Gazan civilians, even the terrorists who want to absolutely obliterate Israel. I don't think that they should die either, right? But we have to find a way to make that happen. The only way to make that happen is both sides have to feel safe. Um, and we can negotiate that. That's what I want to negotiate. We could talk about
Yeah,
facts all day long. We need to negotiate this. That's what I would like. And what do you think about that?
I think I agree with you that death should stop, and the way to achieve that is by achieving justice. Like not by achieving like not just the death, because the death of civilians in Gaza and in Palestine in general, because it's not only in Gaza, as you know, is not in the hands of the Palestinians. It's actually in the hands of the Israeli government. and the Israeli
I
government
disagree.
insist.
I disagree with
Okay,
that vehemently.
that's okay. That's okay. But let me finish that point. Uh, and the safety of Israelis as well, as you mentioned, that we want to like. That's the goal that I want to achieve. I want to achieve the goal that we have a safe, like people are feeling safe and there's peace
I
in
like
that
that.
place. And the way to achieve that is by achieving justice. The death of the Palestinians is already can stop by just the Israelis being like, okay, we'll stop killing them. It stopped, right? If they stop killing, the death stops. If you stop the serial killer, the victims stop dying.
Yeah, but I can say the same thing about the Palestinians if they
Yeah,
stop.
but oh yeah, yeah, you can say that, but that doesn't make it true.
So why does it make what
And
you're saying true? And
because
I'm not
the
saying this
bombs,
aggressively.
what is killing? Let's look at it from like a small point of view. Like, what is killing the Palestinians right now?
The Israeli bombs. Yeah,
The Israeli bombs.
I'm not an
What
idiot.
is killing the Palestinians in the West Bank? The Israeli bullets.
The what? The bullet?
The
Okay,
Israeli
all
bullets.
right, okay,
They kill them with bombs in Gaza, and they kill them with bullets in the West Bank. But they kill them in both places,
okay.
right?
Yeah, and it's not fair. Look,
So
listen. It's not
how is it
fair. Okay.
not Israel that can stop
Yeah,
the killing
listen. Okay, all right. No,
right
no, I
now?
understand this point. Like, I've done hours
No,
of
no,
these
but you
interviews.
disagreed. That's why I'm asking you.
I'll
Why do you
tell you.
think
I'll tell
it's
you. I'll
not the
tell you.
Israel? Okay.
Because I'll tell you. Just because there are some bad people who do bad things doesn't mean everybody in that group is a bad person, right? Can we agree on that?
A general group, yeah. If you're talking in general, yeah, sure,
All right,
makes sense.
good. Um, are there Palestinian terrorists like Hamas who purposely instigate the Israelis, knowing that Israel will launch bombs into their buildings, killing civilians on purpose?
So let me try to understand the question,
Yes,
because it's not a realistic question. It's a weird question, actually.
it's not a
If you
weird question.
think
It's the it's
I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why. So basically, uh, uh, let's think of it in that situation that way, right? You're saying that the uh, like Hamas went in, right, into Israel, intending on killing innocent civilians of Israelis, knowing that Israel will bomb them after. So what's their end goal from your perspective? What's
to get
like? Do you
people
want to
like
kill their own
you.
people?
Yeah, they're okay with dying.
No, no, no.
Have you
I'm
been
I'm
there?
I'm just understanding your point of
They're
view.
okay.
I'm not saying what's right
I've
or what's
looked.
wrong. I'm just understanding your
Yeah,
point.
I've looked at what they're teaching the Palestinians from UNRWA, from the education there, and what the parents are passing on to the kids, and what Hamas is teaching
Mhm.
the little kids there. They're teaching them that sacrificing your life for destroying Israel is the highest good that you could do. Not becoming a doctor, not becoming an engineer, but sacrificing your life for the destruction of Israel.
Okay, so now let's look at it from like, I'm I'm not gonna comment on that part because
Thing. Yeah,
we can go in a rabbit hole in that part because I can say the same thing about Israel. But let's now talk about your question that you asked that I said that it doesn't make sense. So they want to kill their own people so they can get attention from the world to achieve what?
destruction of Israel.
Destruction of Israel. So
Yes.
you think when when so that's how that's how like weird it is. You think they're bad because they know they did something bad and they know Israel will do something much, much, much worse that will eventually lead to its destruction? how does that even make sense?
So what is their goal?
Why would even Israel do something that horrendous? Like, how does that even
Why?
make
Did you
sense?
see what happened on? What do you mean?
No, no,
Why?
no.
Why?
When
What are
so-
you
when
even talking about?
no, 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 no. Listen to me. Listen to me.
Why would our Israel do
It's a
something so
simple. It's a
horrendous?
simple. It's something so simple. Hamas went in, did bad stuff, killed people. It's so bad, right? Is the right response to go in and kill not double, not triple, not quadruple, like freaking thousands of people in response,
All right.
and
So what would have
80
been?
or more
All right.
percent
Thank
of
you. Thank
them
you. Thank you. Thank you. No,
are
I understand.
innocent?
I know the numbers. So what would have been the
No,
correct
no.
response? I know the numbers, 30,000 and counting. I know it's terrible.
So
I
okay.
know it's
So
terrible, and I want to stop
the
it.
correct response is one of two things. One of them is impossible. The other thing is doable.
Okay.
The first thing that is impossible is to reset the clock to actually achieve, like, to not cause all of that. So you caused all of this mess because you're dehumanizing them, you're besieging them, you're killing them
Okay,
in the.
but Gaza's doing the same exact thing. They're both doing it. If you're saying that the people of Gaza are not killing, trying to kill Israelis or killing Israelis, then we cannot have this discussion. They're both doing it.
How many Gazans work in Israel? How many Palestinians?
It was
People are
15,000.
people.
It was
Can you
15. Yes, yes, people are people. Both people are people.
people are
It,
just people that want
it
to
was
live their
15.
lives. They
Yeah,
want to
yeah.
raise their kids. They want
No,
to have
no, it's not true.
a
It's not
human
true. It's not true.
a
There were
normal human
15.
life.
There were 15,000 work permits coming in
Uh,
from Gaza into Israel. That's one count that I saw. It was probably even more. How many work
okay.
permits? How many Israelis could work in Gaza?
Why would they want to work in Gaza? There's no work
Yeah,
for
because they're gonna
Gazans.
get fucking killed. Of course. Why
That
would
is
they go
not
to Gaza?
true. That is
Yes,
not
it
true.
is.
Like
How many Israelis?
what you're saying is the same thing that I told your brother. That you're just repeating what like Israeli government and the media
Israel is
saying.
bombing. Israel is bombing Gaza. Israel is genociding Gaza. Israel is an apartheid state. It's colonizing Gaza. And you think
Okay.
the people of Gaza are going to bring in Israelis with open arms and love them? Are you serious?
Yeah, I'm serious. Uh, uh,
No.
uh, I forgot the name, but it's not about being Israeli. Like, if you went into Gaza, right, and say I'm Israeli and I'm here to kill you, they're definitely gonna kill you.
Good. They should.
Makes sense, right? But
Yes.
if you go in and you say I'm Israeli, but I'm here as a friend, and I'm not, I'm actually want to see what how you guys are living. I'm trying to help you. No one is gonna touch you, and it
So
happened,
why did Ham
I'm saying that. I'm saying that not like as a like my imagination. Actually happened. Like there are there are a lot of not a lot, but I mean few Israelis and Jews from that are not Israelis that went into Gaza for humanitarian purposes, and no one touched them. There are a lot
humanitarian
of
purposes? Yeah, because the
yeah.
cameras are on them. If you have a
No,
civilian
no,
going in, then they're done. They're dead.
it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if there's a camera or not.
Yeah, it
Like,
does. Of course it does.
okay, what did you base? Like now, I give you examples, right? There is
Yeah.
a camera. There's no camera. It doesn't matter. What is your proof of
Perfect. I'm
that?
glad you
If an
asked.
Israeli came
I'm glad
went
you
in
asked.
and he said, "I'm helping,"
I'm glad you asked.
Gazans will just
So
kill him.
after I'm glad you asked. After October 7, there was the Hamas terrorists. I think they murdered a girl, then they brought her into Gaza, and all the people around, like I think she was dead. I'm not sure, but the truck was there, and then there was like hundreds of men who were spitting on that girl, who were like punching her, and they were just like cheering with phones, recording it. This dead Israeli girl, loving it, loving it. Does that sound like a people who, if there's a Jew who comes
So,
in, they're gonna be okay with?
so, so listen to me, okay? First of all, have you ever like, and I want you to understand me like on that point correctly. Okay, I don't want you to try to think uh, a different way. First question, that just to understand how you understand human psychology. Have you ever been to like protest that went wrong or has something violence happened in it or something like that?
No, I have not, but I know how it happens.
Okay.
I'll tell you how it happens. There is a protest, and then somebody
How do you
throws a
know?
rock. I'll tell you how, because the people who create the protest are trained in doing
I'm
this. I
just
learned
I'm
about
just
this.
I'm just trying to I'm just
Yeah,
trying to
so
paint a
they
picture
throw.
for you.
I'm
I
just saying.
wasn't there.
Okay, I know. I'm just saying they throw a rock or something at a police officer when everything's peaceful. The police officer hits that person or hits another person by accident, and then they're like, "Oh no, they're just hitting people who are peacefully protesting." Okay, go ahead.
Okay. So my point is like there are like what happened what you described for me, and I think I've seen that video. It's is disgusting. It should it shouldn't been it shouldn't have happened from any human, right? But let's describe the situation after I told you, like with the piece of information about when there is a protest or I said a protest because I'm sure you've never been to a war, right? Like me neither, but I mean like
Yeah, thankfully, yeah.
within like the chaos of like a situation like this, people don't know what's happening. They just want to exert that energy, this anger, this like we're trapped. Finally, we're out, or what the
And they
heck is
will
going
suffer
on?
the
We're
consequences.
which is and
Unfortunately, they will
I'm not
suffer the
saying
consequences.
I'm not saying what these people have done is good. It's bad. But what I'm
Yes.
saying is when someone does something bad, you kill his children because he did something bad.
No. Wrong. That's
So
wrong.
why is
That's
it
wrong.
like why is it that like the only response from the Israelis that like the Israeli government that they just kill everyone in Gaza.
So
Like
good
how is
point.
that
Good point.
freaking
Okay,
just
that's a
how that
good point.
like if
It
people did something wrong and Israel has a lot of technology. They pride themselves with like oh like we're the Silicon Valley or whatever. They have cameras all over the place. They know they have facial recognition. They know what people look like. They know they have the registry of every person in Gaza. They know everyone. They can bring these people one by one. They can actually achieve justice. You did something wrong, come to justice. But they want to they and I don't like to talk about hypotheticals or people's intentions because I don't know people's intentions. I want to just
no,
talk
people
about
tell
what
you.
they
No, no,
actually do.
people tell you.
Exactly.
People tell you
When
their
people tell you
intentions.
it's not an intention anymore, it's actually an action, right? Like, and that's the only thing that I can talk about. Like the
There's some
president said,
Jews.
we're fighting the actual people, like not Hamas. We're fighting the actual people, and they cut off the water, electricity, and gas, and they said we're fighting human animals. Prime Minister Netanyahu said, "Oh, it's Amalek. Amalek is what? Is like killing all children, women, even the donkeys."
Does it
if
feel
I
like
if you
does it
seen
feel like
that
they're
if you
targeting? Does it feel like they're targeting the civilians?
can I just finish that like
Yeah, sure, sure.
small
Go ahead.
point
I'll let
the
you finish.
what you talked about, what you described, as I said earlier, is bad and horrendous and disgusting. Who would like freaking spit on someone that is laying already like has fallen, even though whether the person is dead or alive, the person already has fallen. Why would you freaking? That's disgusting, right? These people should be brought to justice. But what I'm saying is, these are people. Like
I'm with
normal,
you.
like
I'm with you.
whether they're normal people or they're part of Hamas, they're just people.
I'm
But
with you there.
what I'm talking about, on the other hand, it's not just people, even though the people do have the same perspective. When they did a poll, I think it was 65 or more percent of Israelis are opposed to getting humanitarian aid into Gaza, right? So people want to like kill all people, like 60 or at least 60% of Israelis want to kill everyone in Gaza, right? But it's the government itself. So that's a difference. There's something called like when people go on the streets and commit crime. Like let's say I don't know if you remember forgot which year, when some like during I think it was during COVID and stuff, when people started looting and destroying the place. If someone saw that, can you say everyone in America is disgusting and everyone is America is only about looting and freaking uh, uh, doing like all these chaos and doing all these things? Can you say that?
It's a really good point. That's
You
why I
can't
don't
say that.
I
The
know,
only
but
way
it's a really
you
good
can
point.
say
That's
that when
why
it's systematic.
yes,
So now,
exactly.
when the government says it, it's systematic. Now the government is actively trying to kill everyone in Gaza, and not only in Gaza, the Palestinians in general. So now it becomes a problem. Now this is the problem, not the people that random people that like did crimes or bad crimes or whatever. It's the actual state that is blatantly just saying, "Oh, we'll friggin' kill everyone," right?
Yeah, so okay, so let's separate something here. I've been watching interviews of people like there's this guy Corey. He does amazing interviews of people in like Palestine. I think he's even been to Gaza, but I'm not sure. And there are a lot of people who say they want Israel eradicated. Same way you said there are Israelis who don't want humanitarian aid to go um, into Gaza, which is terrible. These I think it is an overreaction what the Israeli government is doing. I'm not I don't know anything about the defense of Israel. I don't know anything about their national security. I don't know. That's why I think it is too much. I don't want there to be more suffering of the Gazan people. That's why I'm doing this. That's why I'm doing this. These interviews. Um, everything that you're saying is right. Like just because there's people looting, it doesn't mean all of America are looters. There's a lot of like really good people. Should we like target civilians? Just like dude, I understand that. I fully empathize with that. Absolutely. Before October 7th, I don't think that there would have been any reason to do any of these kind of attacks into Gaza because they had a ceasefire. There was a ceasefire between
But they
2021.
did.
Hey, so did Hamas. They sent incendiary balloons into Israel. So like
So the thing is, you can't like that's what people have been saying, and you should have catched on that. That like using Hamas is not effective anymore.
yes, it
Like
is.
you can't use Hamas as an excuse anymore because it's now people can see the truth. Like you can see the truth. The government is even saying like we're not like we just want to kill everyone. We don't care about the
I didn't
Hamas or
see
not. We
Netanyahu
want to
saying.
kill everyone.
I didn't see Netanyahu said that we should target civilians
What is
and kill
Amalek?
everybody. What?
What is Amalek?
What's Amalek? What is that?
Have you heard when Netanyahu said, uh, like mentioned some verses from the Bible about the Amalek people in the Bible in the Old Testament? The Amalek people were people that were fighting against the Jews, and in the Bible it mentions that go in, kill the Amalek, kill women, the children, even the donkey. When he was talking about Gaza, he talked about that they are the Amalek of this time or something like that, right? I don't remember the exact uh, quote, which means basically we're gonna go kill everyone. Why would he mention that specific
I don't know.
like Amalek? Yeah,
Guys,
exactly. You don't
I don't know. I don't know.
you don't know, but his words match his actions, right?
No,
So
I'll
now
tell you
we
why.
so that makes it so that
I
makes it
disagree. I disagree.
make sense.
I hear what you're saying. Here's what gives me a little bit of hope. Hezbollah and I think the Houthis in Yemen, they have like ballistic missiles, right? Like hundreds of thousands of them. They have a lot. At any point, they could launch as many as they want into Israel. But
Yeah,
they don't. At any point, yeah, Gaza was like preparing for this attack on October 7th, but they could have done other mindless things before. So,
other what?
but they didn't. And Israel, they had the
They could have done other
capability
what?
because what?
You said you could have done other what? I didn't
They
hear
could have
that.
done like less, like lower scale attacks or something into Israel, but they didn't. They
But
kind of
you know how
saved
long
this.
the this issue has been going on, right?
Yeah, I
You
know.
know how
No,
many
no,
times
just let
Israel
me.
bombed Gaza, killed people. You know all of that. I'm just making sure you know the history.
I know the history. Everything that I've seen is that every single time, um, in the past after, Gaza has got its fake independence in 2005, um,
I'm glad you know that it's fake.
yeah, um, then, like in 2021, Hamas sent the launched the rockets after the dispute that happened in Jerusalem with the eviction or something. Okay, but so what I'm trying to say is Israel also had the capability before October 7th to do exactly what they're doing, but they didn't. So there's still like, yeah, there's still incursions. There's still like a missile launch there from Gaza or a missile launch from Israel. There's still that, but like it's not all out war at certain points,
But
right?
it is war. But it is war. If you think about it,
Well,
if you're starving people,
they're
if
not
you're
starving.
controlling their
They're not
lives,
starving. They're not starving. They get the most humanitarian aid out of every single country on the planet. They
so
they they get
there was there was a report. I forgot which humanitarian uh, organization did it, but there was a report about how Israel actually count the calories going uh, into Gaza, right? So it would give them enough, just enough to live, live,
okay. Good. I'm glad you
right?
said that. I'm glad you said that. There was a greenhouse that Israel left for Gaza before they came out in 2005 or six, and Hamas burned it down. Hamas steals aid that comes in also. So why did Gaza burn that greenhouse down? It could have been profitable. They could have had more food for their citizens. So there's that too.
I don't know if that's true. I don't know how,
It
like,
is.
why
It's
would,
absolutely true. They left it and they burned it down. You could say okay. Well, that's what I believe because that's what I saw.
I don't
Maybe it's
know if
not
that's
true.
true, but
It's
because there was, I forgot what the, I can look it up, but there was one of the Israeli, or one of the Israelis after they left Gaza, he said something about if if we have if they have left us, because they, like, when they came into Palestine, right? Palestine was already like prosperous, right? It was like already, it wasn't like a barren land that they uh, say it was. And he said something about if they left us Palestine like we left them Gaza, we wouldn't have been able to make it what it is now in like a lot of years. I forgot exactly what the name of the person is, but I can look it up. Something like this. So basically implies that Gaza was not that. Like when they left it like they destroyed stuff before they leave, like some of the infrastructure, stuff like that. So people cannot like actually enjoy it or have, like you said, whatever. Maybe they left the
well, again,
greenhouse. I don't know about the greenhouse, but
we could go back
in
and forth
general.
with the Palestinians did this, the Muslims did that, the Israelis did this. We could go back and forth over. We could go into 1948. We could go into 1920. We could go into the Hebron massacre that happened in the 1990s and the Hebron massacre that happened like 1927. I think we could go into we could go back and forth, back and forth. The goal was, what common goal could we have? Limiting eliminating the amount of debts that we have there. And right now we're just going into this and that and this and that.
Yes, and I already said the amount of death from the Palestinian side is controlled by Israel. If Israel stops killing, no more death, right? The amount of death in the Israeli side is also part of how Israel is conducting its operations or whatever inside the West Bank. Because, like, for example, 2 days ago, I think uh, one people died, 14 injured, something like this, or 11 injured in, I think it was East Jerusalem or
By the way,
something like
I'll
this.
let you make this point about the West Bank, but I want to stick with Gaza, but I will let you make this point.
Yeah, but I'm saying, like, because this is what happens. Like, this is what they call, like, all Palestinians are trying to kill us in the West Bank. But basically, what they do is like they go raid houses. They use houses as like military bases. They dehumanize people when you do that to people, people are gonna revolt. People are gonna like be angry. People are gonna do bad things.
So why can't they
You
just
can't
stop being
expect people to
terrorists?
be angels.
Why can't they just stop being terrorists?
What is a terrorist?
It's somebody who kills civilians. That's it.
What,
I don't care. Look,
what makes a terrorist?
if you kill civilians,
What makes a terrorist? What
just
makes
being like it's about ideology, the way that you're raised.
it's not about the
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
it's mostly about what happened like the during your life that made
No,
you take
no,
that, because
absolutely not. No.
people who do that basically they 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 die, like when they do a terrorist attack or whatever, they eventually gonna get killed. So
So
the
what are they
person does
taught?
that
So
knowing.
what are they
Hmm?
taught? What are they taught? We're talking about Muslim terrorists, not
No,
like the ones that happen in like northern in Ireland and stuff. That's different. There's terrorism in Indonesia, and like there are different. There's terrorism everywhere. There are leftist terrorists, right wing terrorists. There are different types of terrorists. But the ones in the some of the Islamic states, um, they're taught that if you kill yourself, it's for the greater good. That's why they have the martyr
but
funds.
it's not it's not true, because Islam doesn't even teach that. I don't know what they teach
Islam,
the
no, Islam
exact
doesn't. No, no,
persons,
you're right. So there's moderate.
people,
You're right. Yeah,
but
the religion. You're right. With the religion, it does. Okay, we could debate. I'm not an expert on that. But it depends. But different Muslim nations and then area like cities, they teach different things.
yeah, but I don't know. I didn't go to school with these guys. I don't know what they were taught. What I know is that these people are oppressed, and whenever people are oppressed,
No,
people
no,
revolt and do
no,
this.
no, 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 no. The
Okay,
Israel,
go back to
no,
Algeria. Go back to Algeria.
no, no. I'm not. We're not doing Algeria. We're not. I know Algeria.
I'm saying
Like no,
I'm saying
that's different. That's
compared to other
different. What
things,
the French were doing,
compared to
what the French were doing to Algeria was disgusting.
and what the Israelis are doing is okay.
It they weren't the French did that to Algeria unprovoked.
And the Israelis did
What happened on
what?
October 7th?
Yeah, what happened before October 7th? They were doing it for years. Oh, like
Okay,
what the heck?
so it's gonna keep happening. Okay, fine. Good.
It's
Good
not
for
gonna
you.
keep
Good for
happening if there is
you.
justice.
Tell okay, describe
If
wait.
there is justice, it's not gonna happen. If you have
So tell me
different
what
rules,
okay, you said justice. Wait. You said justice many times
yeah,
already.
yeah.
Explain justice to me in 1 minute.
So in my opinion, and I could be wrong because like I'm not a spokesperson for the Palestinian people, but in my opinion, it would be just if Israelis go back to their freaking borders from 1967 and leave leave Gaza alone, remove all the freaking siege, get people like enough to live to have
No, if they, I'm not gonna agree with there. 1967 borders, that's interesting, but giving them enough to live, Gaza and the West Bank, they decide their own fate. They're not little babies who need to be
how
pacified
do you
by the
decide your own
Israelis.
fate when you don't have like control over your fate, or
Well,
you
that's
don't
what you're
have
saying.
control over what's
Once you're
happening?
saying once they're given autonomy and they go back to 1967 borders, right? Which, yeah, then Israel doesn't. They don't have to do shit for them.
No, no,
Once
I'm
they
not
end the
saying to give them like
occupation.
handouts. No, I'm saying
Okay,
like to freaking no. They're gonna have to do reparations for sure for the destruction they've done. That's part of justice. What they've done, their destruction. They destroyed what, like 70 or more percent of the houses and there and the infrastructure. And you've seen the videos for sure of Israeli soldiers doing it as a game and laughing around when they're destroying houses and doing all of this. So
I'm okay with
this,
reparations. I'm okay with reparations from
yeah, I'm
Israel
saying that's
and the
part of
world also,
it's. I'm not
mostly the
saying it
world.
for you to be okay with it or not. I'm just saying this is, from my opinion, what justice should be. Like, uh, 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 leave all the freaking the settlements you've done. Uh, like, evacuate that, go back to your borders, and we can do like there can be a two-state solution. The PLO
Palestinians don't
already
want to. No, Palestinians don't want a two-state solution. Israel
the
does.
PLO already is saying they're okay with the Palestinian Authority. They're saying they're okay with
So
that.
why didn't the Oslo Accords go through if the PLO
The
was okay
Oslo
with it?
Accord, like the what's his name? Netanyahu himself said he's happy that he ruined the Oslo and ruined all the peace, like whatever peace or two-state solution that was
Look,
happening.
blaming Netanyahu is very easy for everything. That's what I keep
It's
saying,
not
and everybody
blaming
does.
him. It's just saying the truth.
He's
That's
happy.
what
Okay,
happened.
the Oslo Accords didn't go through
He's happy
because
that
the
he
PLO did
just
not.
like because
The
the
P
PLO did what?
or I don't know who was negotiating. If I don't know if was it the PLO or the PA that was negotiating the Oslo Accords with.
I'm not 100% sure, to be honest.
So whichever one it was, they refused the deal where they would get like 95% of the West Bank would be controlled um, by the Palestinians. They refused that offer. Like that's
So when you
disgusting.
say when say controlled by the Palestinians, do they have the right to have a military? Do they have the right to have actual sovereignty that they can choose their own fate? Do they have the right to export, import? That's not true. Have you read
If it
what's in the Oslo Accord? So the
if the
Oslo,
if I didn't read it. If the Palestinians can make the Israelis feel safe,
it wasn't a fair
yeah.
deal, basically,
If the Israel,
and they tried to make it that way. And when
yeah,
the
but
Palestinians didn't say
why?
no, we reject it. That's
But
for your
why?
information. They were negotiating. Okay, can we add this? Can we do this? And they said no.
Why do you why okay, I didn't know about that, so I'm glad that you told me about the militarization thing. I'm really glad
Yeah,
that you
it
mentioned
wasn't
that.
it wasn't an actual sovereignty. It wasn't an actual control for Palestinians.
What do you
And
think
that's what I'm
Israel's
saying. They
fear what do you think Israel's fear would be to an actual sovereignty?
Israel is like a thief who stole something, and he's always afraid that this thing that he stole is going to be stolen from him again. That's the main thing. That's
So
the
how do we make
biggest
them feel
thing.
safe? So how do we make them
But
feel safe?
I don't know. I don't know. I don't
Well,
care
that's a
if they
big
feel
fucking
safe or
problem.
not.
That's a big
No, but
problem.
because it's in them. It's the problem within them. Like for example, if we're in class, right? I'm sitting next to you, and you stole something from someone,
What do you mean
or
stole? What do you mean stole?
because the land is stolen. We're not gonna lie to each other. The land
Who
is stolen.
who stole the land before then?
Who stole the land before?
The Ottoman Empire. And who stole it
So
before that?
so
The
so so
Egyptians. And who stole it before
let
that?
me
And
no
then
no
it went to the
let
Romans,
me
the Greeks.
let
Every
me
stole it. You
let me
see?
correct something here real
Okay.
quick, because the terms are very loose, right? When people use these terms, uh, it becomes really not clear what they're actually trying to say, right? There are differences when like for example, the British, like when they take some, like when the whatever empire, when they take a state or a country or like a place, they don't go there and replace people there with their own people, right? They control the place, but people stay in the place. Like
Not
people stay in
always.
their houses,
Not always.
and in some cases, they even get people from their own country to manage that country. So, for example, in Egypt, there was an Egyptian like working with the British to manage Egypt, stuff like that. But in the case of Israel, Israel is not like just controlling the place. No, they're replacing the people, because if they want to create their Jewish, because what's Israel? Israel is a Jewish
Yes.
state, ethno state.
Yes.
If they want to create that, they have to have a Jewish majority. How do you have a
Yes.
Jewish majority if you were always throughout history a minority? You have
Two
to
state
remove people.
no. Two state it
No, no,
was a two
I'm
state
saying that's what
solution.
happened. I'm saying
Yeah,
that's
the
what
two state
happened.
solution, there was a Nakba. I understand.
The two-state solution didn't like
They
the
wanted a two
two-state
state
solution didn't
solution.
say expel people, right? It said this is, guys, you control this area and you control this area, and it was a suggestion. It wasn't somebody's. decision. Like the
Well, what
UN
do you
didn't
think
say,
about
"Oh, this is what's going to happen."
then what do you think
They
about
said,
Israel and
"What do you
Pakistan?
think about that?"
What
Hmm?
do you think about what do you think about India and Pakistan?
What do I think of India and Pakistan?
There was the Muslim influence, and then the British in 1948, they saw like all the conflict that was happening. They're like, okay, we're gonna create these borders,
Hmm.
and this is gonna be the Muslim state. This is gonna be the Hindu state, I think. And then the people moved, and 1 million people died, which I think is terrible. They had multiple conflicts, which again I think is terrible. It's like
Okay.
this like the British thought this would be the perfect way to create peace. And maybe it did more good. Maybe we don't know what would have happened if they didn't do it. Maybe there would be even more conflict, but they created a two-state solution there because they saw the
Yeah.
conflict. Same thing here. The Jews had no home. They had no home at all. Where would they go?
Every Jewish person had a home in their country that
And
they
what happened to them? And what
right.
happened to them? And what happened to them?
In
What
Europe,
happened?
they got in Europe they got slaughtered all the
How
time.
many
But
times?
the
How many
Oslo,
times?
like
How many
the
times? But how many
the
times did they
Balfour
get slaughtered?
Declaration was before the Holocaust, right? Before
Yeah,
anything happened to
yeah.
people, and like there were like instances of things that happened, but there was no Holocaust that they currently use as a reason of like we need a state, right?
Well, that's why there
And
was less land.
there was
The
what?
Bel I think with the Belfort Declaration, or there was Israel would get less land because there was less people at that time. But then in 1948, then the land difference was different.
But I don't think the Balfour Declaration indicated it's exactly the partition or whatever of the land. It was just saying that basically in the land of Palestine there will be a Jewish state.
Actually, how do you feel about
Um,
that? Yeah, let's say the land was even smaller than the land of Israel. Let's say it was half of that, right? Just for the Jews to have a state. Do you think that it should have
why
been like
would
in a
the Jews
different?
need a state? That's the like that's the crazy thing.
That's why Israel is doing what they're doing. I want you to understand this. That's why
It's
they're doing what they're doing.
yeah, exactly. Don't need to do
What do
that.
you mean?
They
So
actually
why do the Muslims need a state? Why don't we just destroy them?
All the states, all the countries are not like
What,
they have majority Muslim people, but it's not called a Muslim country. Like
I
except
know.
for maybe Saudi, like some countries, but it is an actual regular whatever. It's not like of course I have problems with their so-called democracy, but it's supposed to be a democratic countries, right? But what I'm saying, what you're saying here is that Jews used to live in Palestine, no problems, right?
With no
Throughout
problems?
history.
No,
Hmm?
they had problems. Like everybody
Yeah,
had
but
problems.
there was
2,000 years
no,
ago,
yeah,
everybody
but
was getting
regular
invaded.
like it wasn't like uh at least in the during like the Muslim rule, it wasn't like crazy problems where they're like friggin' chased everywhere and like
Oh,
expelled.
that's not what I thought you were talking about. I was talking about problems like with like the Romans and stuff before, and
No, no,
then the Muslims.
I'm talking about like because everywhere they go in history, the Jews, uh, various reasons, but they got like fought, like they people were anti-Semitic and partly because of what Christianity is, the Christianity influence. It was never a problem with Muslims throughout
Yes,
history,
yes, you're
right?
right. You're right.
So Jews that were living in the uh, uh, North African countries and in Palestine, they were okay, right?
Yes,
And
yes.
the migration of Jews from Europe started, I think, the late 1800s or so, and people had no problems with it in Palestine. I'm sure there were people that were like annoyed, but in general, people were okay. Like come and they bought some of them because they were wealthy. They were able to buy land and live there, right? Uh, People had no problem with that. I have no problem with that. If that kept going and people kept coming, like any other place that people like migrate to, or do you want to be close to their, uh, like the land, the Holy Land? Sure, come, no problems. Live. There is. more land that we can build, sure, build and live, no problems with that. But because they had bad intentions and they already were trying to replace the people, that was the issue. That what started the whole problem. And that's basically what we're having. Why do you have to have a, a Jewish state when you just can live with other people as like a what they now say they are, which is a democratic state or secular uh, state, but they're in reality they're not. So there is a lot of confusion of
It's
why they
that's
want to
actually
do
a
this.
really good question. Why do you think that? Why do you think that they don't want to settle with living just like little communities in different countries and not have their own country? Why do you think?
Why do they want to have their own country instead of living
Yes.
like in communities?
Yes.
Because I'm not sure about like their actual uh, intention of the people, but uh,
I've talked to them. I've spoken to them.
the real reason is basically like what Zionism is about, which is like colonialism and
Colonialism is when you have your own country and you conquer other countries. That's colonialism. Like
okay,
what Saudi Arabia, like how Islam spread. Well, it started in Saudi Arabia, and then they went into Northern Africa. They went into the Middle East. It was only like in Indonesia that's where it didn't spread that way. That was more of like just they just like that religion. But that's how the American Empire spread. That's how
all
the
right.
British Empire spread, and that's how Islam spread. The way
It
Israel is doing it,
it's
that's
so
colonialism.
so
That's not
I don't want to get
colonialism.
on this into these points.
Okay,
Forget about colonialism.
okay,
Let's
thank
call
you.
it whatever. Let's call it anything X, right?
Okay, let's call
But
it.
X entails or means that you go to that country or to that place and basically control it and take over what the people like the
It's not what happened.
remove the people and live there.
It's not what
Basically,
happened.
take
It's not what happened. The British
so what?
owned that territory and they split it. That's what happened. They didn't come in there and own people
Okay,
or
so the British own people's homes.
did they have a
Did they
legal
have
right
the
to
right
own?
to remove people from their homes and their land? Did
Did
they have the right to
Did
take?
the Ottoman Empire have the right to do it? Did
Yeah,
all the other empires
that's what I'm
before?
asking. Or do they have the right to do that? Even the Ottoman Empire or whatever empire, do they
I
have the
don't
right to go remove or like to actually remove people from their homes?
do they
And
have
the
the right
answer
to
is hmm,
honestly, no. But I don't know
exactly.
exactly. I
And
don't
but
know exactly how it
but
happened.
what? But then,
And
and that's what I was
I don't
saying.
think the British kicked people out of their homes.
Exactly, and
There
that's
was
what I'm
still a free
saying.
market there.
And that is my point. That even though I don't agree with the term like oh like the British owned this territory, but
They had the
okay,
control over the government. Somebody has to
exactly
control it.
they had a
Yeah.
control over it. So they said, which is wrong, and a lot of people would agree with me that it's wrong what the British did in the whole region. All the freaking partitions that they made caused a lot of mess. But they said, okay, you guys take this and you guys take that. But they
Yeah.
didn't say, but that didn't mean that when Israel takes this land, they have the right to go in and expel people from that land and kill people and like
So okay, but they kept
and
no. Okay,
forcefully
you're right.
remove them from
You're
the
right.
land.
Okay, you're right. You're right about that. You're right about that. I hate when people say it's a nuanced thing. This is a nuanced thing. And I hate myself for saying it. We could go into the details about what happened in 1948. For example, like okay, I'm gonna agree with you. Israel or no, not even Israel. No people or groups of Israel had any right to kick out people who are, part of that land already. But could we
Mhm.
also agree that um, Egypt, Jordan, Syria, and the Arab League, they also didn't have the right to um, invade Palestine once Israel became a state.
But you know the details of what happened, right?
people say the Nakba started, they started evicting people, and then the Jordan and Egypt, they had to go in to save them. But it's kind of funny because once they saved them and they couldn't eliminate every single Jew, which is what the Israeli, I think the leader of Egypt said, we want to eliminate every single Jew and finish what Hitler started. Um,
Which Egyptian leader said that?
I
Abdel
think
Nasser?
whoever, I don't know, whoever was in charge of Egypt,
It
I
was
don't know.
Nasser at this time.
Then I guess it was him. If I'm wrong about that, I'm wrong about that. But they came in. If you're like from what I read, they made it clear they wanted to kill every single Jew, and that's why they asked the Muslims to leave. But
I don't, but keep going,
okay,
keep going.
so I actually blame the Arab League for intervening there because then you could have created the two-state solution. The Palestinians in their area, the Israelis with their government control in one area, then you would have the peace. But if the Arab League, because the Arab League invaded and the Palestinians left because of the war, and some of them left because they were told to leave by the Arab League, then how could you have a two-state solution there? How could you bring the Palestinians back? 20% of the Muslims stayed in the Israel border. They were given full citizenship, full rights. Again, it doesn't mean that the Palestinians are bad people. I want a peaceful solution, just as much as you. I want them both. I want Israel to stop launching the bombs, and if they do it first, fine. If they're the ones who do it first, and then after the terrorists um, in Gaza stops launching rockets, that's good. But it doesn't seem like that's what the Arab League wanted, and it doesn't seem like. Okay, sorry, you could respond.
Yeah, what I'm like, you see how like you had to like do all of this like jumping around to be able to basically justify what Israel has done. Like, you see how like hard it is? You see like why would you take that route when the easier route is basically we can go into details. We can basically talk about every point of that. The easier route is just saying you shouldn't expel 700,000 people of their land. You shouldn't massacre villages, entire villages, going in and massacring them, which has historically been what is it called? Uh, Documented by an Israeli historian. You shouldn't like the circumstances. We can talk about them because that's what basically. And again, I'm telling you the same thing I told your brother. You're just repeating what they say, what they like. Their West, like the media, not the Western media.
It
The
doesn't
Western
mean
media
that
are
it's it
stupid
doesn't mean
anyway.
that it's wrong. It doesn't mean that
It
it's
doesn't
wrong.
mean that it doesn't mean that it's wrong. But when something comes out of the Israeli government, it's 90% wrong most of the time,
I could say the
right?
same thing about whatever Al Jazeera comes out with too. I don't listen to the what the Israeli government
Okay, but do you
says. I
agree
don't
that
listen to them.
what Israelis like say most of the time is 90 like is a lie 90% of the time
Israelis, if you're saying
when the
if you're
government,
saying like the Israeli media, like from
Israeli media and the
Israel,
Israeli government, yeah,
um,
Israeli representatives.
I I have not read any of their stuff or listened to any of their stuff, so I would then I have no choice but to believe what you're saying because I don't listen
No,
to
I'm
what they say.
no, I'm saying like what they do, and that I experienced it myself from looking at what they say. They bring part truth, part of what they say is truth to build the confidence,
Okay, I'll agree with you.
and
I'll
then
agree with you. I'll agree with
put
you.
around it a lot of stuff that are not true
Okay, I'll
to
agree
make
with
it
you.
seem
I'll
so
agree with you.
so that's what I'm saying. Like what is there where there be, and I'm not sure if you've seen, there is like a documentary called Tuntura, which is one of the villages in Palestine. I'm not sure if any of the pro-Palestinians brought that up, but basically it's a documentary showing the veterans from that time when they're talking about what they've done to the Tontura village and to the civilians there, and they're bragging about how they killed them all. They put them around and just starting. And the guy's asking him, "How many have you killed?" He was like, "I don't remember. I don't count." I had like a full magazine, and it was all done like on them. And they brag about how they raped women, how they did all of this. Is there at any time or any is there any reason that would justify something like this at any period of time or any circumstance?
No, I think it's terrible.
So I'm glad we're at that point. So basically, what we're now like achieving is we're seeing how like it wasn't just individuals or just mistakes, because when a pattern is repeated, it shows how it's systematic, right? So if that was their approach and that's what we know, that means there's a lot that we don't know that was maybe at the same level of horrendousness, right? So that gives us the idea of why people in Palestine have that hatred towards their colonizers, right, or their oppressors, and that hatred would have died down, would have died down had the like it happened. It didn't die down completely, but it happened in different countries. When you said the partitions and stuff happened in other places, it kind of died down by time because people forget, and that's how people are, right? But it didn't die down in this specific situation, not because people hate Jews. It doesn't.
Actually,
It,
yeah. Actually, yeah.
but let me finish.
Well,
Let me
but
finish my
okay,
point.
all right,
Let me
okay,
finish my
okay,
point
okay.
and tell you why it didn't. It didn't die down because the the aggression keeps happening, keeps repeating. It's not just a one-time thing. It didn't happen in 1947 and that's it. It didn't happen in 48 and that's it. It kept happening. People kept until today, till this day, people are still getting their houses destroyed in the West Bank. Because I'm not like because Gaza's the whole thing is getting destroyed. I'm talking about the people that want to just live in peace,
I
want to just
don't.
live.
We could talk about the West
They
Bank a
go get
different
their
time.
houses destroyed. I'm just saying like the actions that keep happening. The March of Return. People marched peacefully and they were sniped. I'm sure you heard of it.
No,
In in Gaza, people brought down the March of Return. I think it was 2006, if I'm not mistaken, 2016. It has a six in it. And people were marching in peace, just carrying their whatever signs and stuff. And the Israelis were sniping them. And there
if
were
that
videos of
happened, if they
Israeli
were,
soldiers
if that
bragging about
happened,
that.
if that happened, it's terrible. But I could also give hundreds of examples. What I could
It's
also
not. It's
give
not.
hundreds. I could
Yeah.
also give no, no, no. You're.
It's not
It's
about who gives more
horrible.
examples.
It's that's what I'm.
It's not a
That's my point.
competition.
That's my
What I'm saying
point.
is
That's my
what I'm
point.
saying is it's there's a difference between systematic, which what's happening with Israel. It's a systematic thing. It's not a random, oh, this guy did a mistake. Come, you'll be brought to justice. If that happened, well, okay, a mistake happened, right?
Okay,
But
it's
what
let,
happens? But what happens?
let's say
The Israeli
systematic.
government actually commends these people, and
Commends.
they're okay with it. You know what I'm trying to say?
Commends with a mistake. There was a guy who shot. There, he was. I think he was getting shot at, and he tried to shoot. It was an IDF soldier who tried to shoot the terrorist, and accidentally the bullet went through the wall and it killed a kid. That guy got put in jail for accidentally killing a kid that he didn't see. I don't. I
Okay,
don't. They don't. They
I'm
don't
glad.
reward
I'm
that.
glad you did. But what happened with Shireen Abu Akleh, for example, the journalist that got killed by an Israeli IDF soldier, and then Israel lied about it for a year, and then they admitted it at the end. What happened to that person that
Well,
killed Shireen Abu
like
Akleh? and Shirin Abu Akleh was an American citizen.
Well, that's terrible. Look, I'm
And
not. I'm
that's
being
what I'm saying.
objective.
That's
I'm
what I'm
being
saying.
objective.
I can keep going. There must be
I
like
could keep going
it
too.
can't be all bad. There has to be
I could keep
kind of
going too. I could keep
no. I'm
going
saying like,
too.
but what you're saying is individuals doing bad things. What I'm
Okay.
saying is a government, state actually not only doing bad things. It's basically putting it as kind of like sometimes a law, you know, like to do bad things. Like for example, Gazans were prohibited from collecting rainwater. What the heck is that? That's collection, like collective punishment. We just want to punish these people. We just want to get them. What they want to do is like, do you want people to, from the amount of dehumanization, from the amount of oppression, from the amount of aggression, do you think
So
people would
why
be
does
like,
so why
okay,
does
we'll do whatever you want? We're,
so
but
but why?
what
Okay.
happens is the opposite. Go ahead.
But why did Jordan and Egypt and Lebanon and Syria, why did they also oppress the Palestinian people when the refugees came to their countries?
I already said, like they're disgusting governments, all of them. All the Arab governments are
They killed the leader of Egypt. The Palestinians killed the leader of Egypt that caused a civil war
no,
there.
not the Palestinians. Who said that?
Yeah, the Palestinians
No,
did it. They
it
caused a
didn't happen.
civil war in Lebanon. They
It
caused a
didn't happen.
civil war in Syria. They aligned with Saddam Hussein when he
Who killed the president of Egypt?
I don't know. I don't
So
know
why do you
I
say
don't
it's
know so
Palestinian?
are you
Whatever.
saying I'm wrong?
Yeah, yeah.
Look it up.
I know. I'm not gonna. I know. I'm Egyptian.
so you're saying
I know who killed the president
so
of
you're saying
Egypt.
the Palestinians had nothing to do with the civil with the terrorism in Egypt. They had nothing to do with terrorism in Lebanon. They had nothing to do with what happened in Kuwait. They had nothing to do with what happened in Jordan. They had nothing to do what happened in Syria. They had nothing to do with any of those things.
No. So what happens is. So here's what happens. So and it's partial because at the end of the day, as I already mentioned that in the beginning. So what Israel has done, and they've done a great job doing that. If I'm an evil person, I would have been clapping for them, to be honest. What they have done, they monopolize, they control the governments in most of the Arab countries surrounding them, right? With the help of the US for sure. But they control them. So basically, they like what they want to do, like at this point, like at a lot of points, what they want, like in the beginning, all they wanted is people to recognize them because they know they're illegitimate. So once a lot of countries I'm serious. They already like a lot of Israelis already said that because they know
So
they're
every
illegitimate.
country's how did Islam spread? Every country is illegitimate. How did the United States spread? Every country is
Did
illegitimate.
Islam go?
Come on, man.
Did Muslims? What did Muslims do when they went to Jerusalem? What did Muslims do when they conquered Jerusalem?
What about every other
No, no. I'm
area?
asking you.
I don't know
What
what
did they
they
do?
did. I don't know what they did.
I'll tell you what they did. When they went into Jerusalem, they already found that all the Jews were expelled from Jerusalem, and they were like, "How like this is Jerusalem. This is the like Jews lived here for hundreds of years. How could they be expelled?"
I already
And
agree with you. I already agree
they
with you.
sent a group to bring back the Jews into Jerusalem. So what you're comparing, you're making you're equating two things that are not equal. They are not even similar. Like what Islam did, Islam conquered countries, but Islam didn't force people. Islam didn't say to people, go out, we're replacing you with other people. That never happened throughout
What's the
history.
difference between you're choosing what's good and what's bad?
No,
What
no, no,
is
I'm not choosing.
what
I'm
yeah,
not
you're
choosing.
choosing.
I'm gonna ask you. I'm gonna ask you.
Okay.
Right. So, a military that goes into a country, right, and be like, we're fighting the government. The government is doing this and doing that, and we think that this is right. So, if you agree with what we're saying or what we think is right, you're gonna live in peace. You're gonna be fine, no one is gonna get hurt, nothing is wrong, right? And you even can govern your own self however you want. So compare that, whether you agree with it or not, but compare that to another group of people that goes into a country and be like, "This is our land. All of you get out. We don't want you here, and we're gonna take we like whether you like it or not. We're gonna take the place, and we're gonna live. We're gonna live here because God promised it to us or whatever, right?
Well, I hate that.
How
Actually,
is that?
could we
How's that different?
could I hate that
How's that
reasoning.
the same? I'm sorry.
No,
You hate what?
I hate the that justification for like I've seen some Jewish people do this.
And that's the only
Some
reason for
Zionists.
them
It's not the
to
only.
go
No, no,
to
no, 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 no,
Jerusalem,
no, no. Listen, it's not the only. It's
to
not the
go
only.
to
It's not the only.
Palestine. I'm sorry.
It's not the only reason. Well,
What
that's
is the
why I
other
asked you
reason?
before.
What is the
They
other
ha-
reason?
they have to go somewhere. They need to have their own country.
Why is there still birthright where people from New York can just claim it and go and get the citizenship and take a house and live there? Why is this still happening? Are people in New York being oppressed? The Jews?
They want their own country. They want more people
No,
to
no,
be there
but
so
why
they
is that?
feel safer.
Why is that okay? Why is that okay? Why is that? Why is it? What is the justification now? Like, okay, people that were oppressed came in, they're safe now somehow, and everything is good. Why is this still happening? What is the justification now?
Okay, that
The only
I
justification that they
no
have is God promised it to us, and it's a
no 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 no
Jewish
because
land.
I'm one of those people. I'm one of those Jewish people who went to Israel on birthright. And I've spoken to people there. Most of the people they don't justify Israel to be there because God promised it. I've seen the people who do. I hate it. I hate it so much. It's disgusting to say this land was promised to us by God, therefore we should take it. I hate that so much. Those people, like, I hate it so much.
Okay,
The other justification, which because I had family who survived the Holocaust, they told me the stories of what happened to their family members. That's the majority of the justifications for not going into Israel specifically. They want their own land somewhere. And the British were like, and the British said, we're going to give the Jews the land here because do you know how they decide on how to split up countries and stuff? They do it based on like indigenous populations from the past, and then they saw that the Jews used to be there, then they got expelled, they had no country of their own, and then the Holocaust happened, and then 1948 they decided that okay, Israel should have some part of the land. Should it have been in a place where they would have been more accepted? Absolutely. If we could have found a place where Israel could have been more, or a nation for the Jews could have been more accepted, maybe not around in the Middle East, right? Maybe if we found a place where they would have been accepted, is that something that you would have agreed with? Like a
I
small
mean,
chunk of land for Israelis, where even for Jewish for the Jewish people, would you have accepted that if it wasn't in Palestine?
my problem is not Jewish people going to Palestine or living in Palestine, right? My
Could
problem
you
is
answer the question then tell me your problem, or could you tell me the problem and then answer the question? You could
that's
tell me the problem.
part of answering the question
Okay, okay,
because
okay.
it's not about like just put them all in some place. That's not how it is. Like, like I mean, I know it like feels homey to be like in a place where everyone is the same as you or like similar views or similar beliefs like you. But if that's built upon kicking people out of their houses and
Look,
killing
I
thousands of
understand.
people,
I understand. No,
does that still feel good? You know what I'm trying to say?
I know what
So
you're trying to
just
say. I know what
if
you're
they
trying to say.
wanted to have if that was the ultimate reason, because when you look at it, people lived in Palestine. Jewish people lived in Palestine during the Holocaust. Were they getting murdered? Or they were getting
Yes.
like was it because there was I know there was a lot of riots and a lot of these things, but it was we're not going to get into details. But what I'm
We're
saying
not.
is in that holicity of the thing of the place, were they being targeted all the time in the land and being because
In Europe they weren't targeted all the time either.
No, I'm saying like during the Holocaust, within within that time that they actually were prosecuted and getting like when the Holocaust was happening in Europe and
I
Palestine.
don't know about the I don't know about Holocaust specifically, but I know between like 1917 and 1948 there were many riots and pogroms of the Jewish people in
Yeah,
Palestine.
again, we're not gonna get into details because you know the details. Like there were tensions because people were saying these like there is a Balfour Declaration. These people are trying to like take our land or whatever, and I, I don't justify it. Whatever is happening, whatever happened at that time, I'm never gonna know the full details of what actually happened. But what I know is it in general they weren't living in a bad like. For example, I read also during from I don't know if you know the Benny Morris, the Israeli historian. He also documented that before the Nakba, Palestinians were actually sheltering some of the Jewish people from the British, right? Like
The British
so,
weren't
so
allowing Jews to come in during the Holocaust, and there were tensions between the Jews and the British also. Okay.
yeah, and like even though a lot of a lot of the Jewish military group were fighting like or fought with the British, but during the Holocaust, because of all what's happening, they weren't allowing that. They were still allowing people, but they weren't allowing the same amount of people that uh, the Zionist group wanted to get into Palestine. But this is not the topic. But what I'm trying to say is they felt there was relative safety, like it is for any minority group in any country, right? Like if you talk to a Christian, if you talk to a Christian living in any Arab or Muslim country, right? Some a lot of them will say we're safe, we're feeling happy, everything is good, and some of them will say, yeah, no, we're feeling discriminated against, we're having this issue. Oh, there is a burn, like a problem that people burnt a church, or some incident in this place, and some incident in that place, right? So I'm not saying it's good to happen. It's not good, and it's stupid. The people who does that, the people who do that, they're like mentally not stable because why would you do that? Like, who are you benefiting? And I'm sure these people have alternate agendas because some people benefit from dividing groups or like making people hate each other. And
Yeah, the Dutch and the
uh,
British were perfect at that.
so what I'm trying to say is, if 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 you can live in a country without having issues like or major issues, like the majority of people are having uh good like good time prospering, like having like their business, everything is going in the Jewish where like throughout history, most of them were wealthy. So why would you like call like why would you do all of this? You know what I'm trying to say? Like
No, I understand what you're saying. I understand your response to the question, and I would like for you to go like a little deeper in that in just 1 second, but I still would like an answer to the question. You answered it like in a different way, and I would like for you to elaborate it more so I can understand the perspective more. But the question was like, if there was another area of the world where they accepted the Jews and they created a land just for the Jewish people in a way where there weren't like where nobody was like, we don't want these people here. We don't want to give this land to these people. Um, do you think that would have been a fair thing, or do you think like that would not have been a good decision to give the Jewish people their own country?
no, they can have their own country, of course, if they want it, as long as they're not like kicking people out of it. If I was Jewish and that was the decision that was happening, I wouldn't like it. Why would I like just you know what I'm trying to say? But if they want that, go ahead. Why not? It's not an issue to have a country that is Jewish. That was never an issue and it was never
Well,
a debate.
it was an issue for the Muslim world, but then what you're saying
No,
is
the
that
Muslim world
no,
was
but what
go
you're
ahead.
saying it was an issue was because there were already it was already Palestine was never a country, but it was still like a region, and they didn't want an Israeli majority in that region if they had to kick some Muslims out. But the Christians, I don't remember like the
It's not
Christians.
about Muslims. It's about like Palestinian people, because again, people think that this is a religious problem, like where Muslims are fighting the Jews, when it's not, right? It's basically
For us, it
a
feels that way.
political,
For
but
us, it
but but
feels that
but
way.
but but, but why?
Well,
Why does it feel that way?
because for example, the Houthi flag, it says death to America, death to Israel, death to the Jews, or whatever. So yeah, it feels that way. And then in Australia, they had chants saying "gas the Jews, gas the Jews," and
In
in
what? Australia?
Australia, there's like groups of Muslims just chanting that. And in Europe, you see what some of the Muslims are doing. They're putting swastikas and stuff on Jewish people doors and following them. So it feels like people are targeting Jews just for being
No, no.
Jewish.
Whoever does that is ignorant, right?
Okay, I'm glad you said that.
It's ignorance. Like that's all I can say. It's not hate because they don't know. Like you can't hate someone that you don't know. I don't think they even know like or have had Jewish people in their lives,
Well,
like
that's
the
a
people that you're
problem.
talking about.
That's the only way to kill somebody. That's the only way to hate somebody.
But,
To not know them. That's the
but
only way.
which is why I also like why I'm like strongly believe in my view. Like that makes me feel stronger in my view that there are like people are not in general the I don't want to say it that way. I don't want to seem
No, you can say it. It's all right.
prejudiced. But what I'm trying to say is
I don't
what I'm
mind.
trying to say is when Israel does what it is doing right now, is it making Jewish people more liked or more hated around the world?
Way more hated. Way more hated.
So they're basically doing things that, in my view, are anti-Semitic, like the Israeli government itself. Because when I just saw a video of one of the, I think she's one of the ministers of, I forgot what minister, but minister in Israel, and she was talking in the Knesset, and she was saying like, "Oh, I'm happy with what's happening in Gaza, and uh, I'm proud of it." And
Yeah, it's disgusting that she would say that.
after,
It's
so
disgusting.
when you say something like that, people that are not like as I mentioned, the people that are uneducated or ignorant, their first impression will be like, "Oh, that's the Jews. That's all the Jews. That's how they think. That's how they feel about like freaking children. It's like they want to kill children."
The
So I
Jews that
can
I
be
talk to,
I
the
can be
majority
hateful
are
of it.
not. I'm just, I would never
That's what
want,
I'm saying. Like you fuel what you're doing. You're igniting and fueling the hate from the ignorant people.
but what
Like
would
the same
happen?
way, I'm not sure
But
if you've seen, like, let me just
yeah, okay,
5 seconds. I'm
okay.
almost done with this point just to like show you the comparison. There are a lot of streamers and a lot of people, I don't know about these stuff, but they go on videos with random people. And when it comes to a Israeli person, most of the time when they mention, oh, I'm from Palestine or I'm pro-Palestinian, the first thing they do is like either cuss them out or say, "Oh, we're happy with what's happening. We want to kill more children." And it's not one video and it's not two videos. A lot of videos, right, from Israelis, and these videos circulate and go on the internet. And what I see, that cannot be the view of all Israelis. Not alone, like, not to mention like the whole full scale of Jewish people. That cannot be
Were those videos
because
post October 7 or before?
Polish.
Post. Okay. Yeah, I noticed a lot more of those videos after October 7, and it doesn't
But
justify it.
even
Like
even
it does.
before, even
Yeah,
before, have
there
you seen
were.
what is it called, the Sidort or something cinema.
I've seen some other
Forgot what it's
videos from
called.
before. I've seen some other videos
So
from
so a
before.
cinema, like a hill where people go, the settlers go and sit there and watch when Israel is bombing Gaza as if it's like a fireworks or something like that. They were watching and enjoying. And that was before October 7th. So I'm just saying, like, ignorance is the biggest producer of hate. And when people are ignorant and you're giving them misinformation and giving them, you're fueling that hate and that ignorant with all this stupid stuff that are happening.
So what
So,
can we do about that? What can we do about
well,
that together? What can we do about it?
so like me and you, or like in general?
Um, I I think both. Like I'm trying to. This what I'm trying to do is get to people who with opposing viewpoints to talk. This is my version of doing something about it, and
Yeah.
hopefully, I get better at creating like unity. But that's me. But what could we as a population, I guess, do about it also?
I mean, like, I'm glad you're doing that because you're, as I said, when a person doesn't have enough information, they tend to be more angry or be more uh, reactive in a stupid way. But when, it's good that you're getting more information and you're learning more. Hopefully, that will basically change your mind into a more
I think I'm pretty pro.
clear way.
I think I'm pretty pro Palestine in the way that I want Israel to stop the bombings and I want a solution, whether it's going back to 67 borders or whether it's a one state or whatever, as long as both sides could agree on it. I don't, if we want to get rid of whatever both sides could agree on, if you want to completely get rid of the Israelis in that region, it would be like difficult because they're doing advancements like in like cancer research and stuff. They're creating medicine that could like
No,
target
you can't get rid
cells.
of Israelis. It's like it's impossible. It's like people that have been living there for years. It's done. You know, you can't repeat what they've done to the Palestinians to them. That would be absurd. That would be stupid. Like they did that like 70 something years ago, right? We can't then go back like and be, oh, we're expel all of you because you expelled us. That's so stupid. So that's not even an option. People that live there should live there. Only the illegal settlements, the settlers, as you said, like going back to the borders, they shouldn't be there. Uh, but the problem is, again, I'm not trying to be biased, but sincerely, nothing is going to happen as long as this government in Israel is there, because it's an evil government, to be honest.
I actually
Very evil.
don't believe that. I believe that the people elect the government. For example, there's a lot of leftist like riots in Israel right now because a certain population just hates the Netanyahu regime, right? And same way in the
Mm.
United States here, people were upset with what was happening pre 2016, so they elected Trump. And then all the liberals and Democrats, they were really upset that Trump was president, so they elected Biden. So it's like the people are electing the people. And what happened after October 7 was that unfortunately a lot of these like liberals and leftists, they became more right and agreed with the Netanyahu regime even more. And maybe he's going to be in power even longer. So it's like the people who are choosing. In Ukraine, also, the government was overthrown because the people chose to overthrow it and the police chose to side with the people. The people decide the
Yeah,
government.
yeah, but that's not how democracy works, if you think
That's
about it.
exactly how democracy works. The people
No, no,
decide the
but like
leaders.
in actual democracy, like, so for example, you're saying, like, or not you, but a lot of people say, oh, it's this, when this conflict ends, Hamas cannot be in power anymore, right? In Gaza, right?
Am I? I don't even know. I'm not one of those people. I don't think I'm one of those people.
But from that perspective, or like if like you're not with that with these people, but well, my point, I was trying to like make a comparison, but you destroyed it. So
Okay,
what I'm
let's
trying,
say we could say let's say I am, or let's say there are
no,
people
no,
who
no,
are
no.
that.
Let me just go straight to the point. I don't have to
Okay,
give like this whole thing.
okay.
Basically, it's a democracy where people can choose whoever they want, unless this person is a criminal. How can you choose a criminal to be in office
Every
and be like,
president,
oh, it's a democracy?
every president is a criminal.
No, no, but this is an actual like an
Yeah,
actual
every
criminal.
president is an actual criminal. Obama signed off on the killing of an American citizen, I think, in Libya or one of those countries. He assassinated somebody who was actually innocent. And every president does these things. Every president's a criminal. Every prime
I
minister is a
mean,
criminal.
I mean, that's true, which sucks. But if in a perfect world, these people should not be elected, should not be even able to not be nominated or run for
But why?
presidency
But
or run
why
for.
are there? But why are they?
I don't want to go into conspiracy theories,
No, no,
but
no, no. I want to say that the
money runs
people.
everything, basically.
I think that the people choose the same way the people chose
The
Trump because they felt
people.
like nobody cared about them.
There's a book I want you to read. It's called The Psychology of the People, something like that, right? So basically, what this book is, the general idea is saying that, uh, and that's a flaw in the democracy uh, in the system, that along the years and with the education that you present to people and with all of these aspects that the government controls, you can like you can shape the brains of the people to at least the majority. There will be black sheeps in the middle, right? But the majority of people will get aligned in whatever path you want them to go to. So people are choosing yes Netanyahu or whatever, but it's the psychological manipulation that the government has done in so many years that caused them to do that. Because, like for example, why didn't people vote? Like, why did people vote for Biden? Not because they love
They
Biden,
they hate
it's
Trump.
because they hate Trump,
Yeah,
right? So that's part of the like the whole manipulation and the whole
I don't think
like
so. I could see why you think it's that way. I really do understand that point of view because there are actually people who are easily manipulated.
yeah,
Especially if they're going through like let's say you're in the Midwest and then you had a factory job and then you lost it and now you can't feed your kids and then somebody's like, oh, by the way, it's the Mexicans. You're gonna be like, it's the Mexicans. They're the problem.
yeah, exactly. Creating
The
this threat, creating the
yeah.
monster to
You know what
control
they
people.
you know what they did in Scandinavia? I think in Sweden. Um, I think it was Sweden or Denmark, one of them. Because the people have like advanced as a society since the Viking days. They reached a
Yeah,
point where they made a law that doesn't allow public officials like Congress to have stocks in any company that's in their country, only like foreign stocks. So, and in the United States, we don't have that. So that's why you see
yeah,
so much corruption. But it's the people who decided, who allowed that law because the Swedish people, they're like one of the most peaceful people out there. They're not perfect, but they are one of the most peaceful. The gun deaths and homicide rates is one of the lowest.
yeah,
So they, as a people, decided on the rule. The Netanyahu thing, because of the attacks on October 7th, the people shifted towards wanting safety, and to get safety, they will support somebody who is a right wing extremist,
yeah.
right?
But Netanyahu has been an extremist from a long time ago, and we already seen his like views in. He's been in politics. Like I don't remember a time in my whole life that Netanyahu wasn't there. Right?
I don't remember
Netanyahu
a
was all.
time when the Jews felt safe from the
No,
Muslim
I'm saying
world.
like I'm saying like uh, the uh, the whole Netanyahu thing. It's not just like it's not about Netanyahu himself. Netanyahu himself is uh, like I don't like him in general. Of course, I don't like him, but he's an evil person. Uh, but it's about again back to the psychology thing. You're saying not everyone is easy to manipulate, but less people are easy to manipulate. It's not manipulation that would be like okay, uh, it's your bread or your thought. It's more like in indoctrination. I think that's the word, but It's basically like, because I've seen that. I've seen that happen in many countries, in many other countries. I I was kind of doing like kind of a research kind of thing, and people, even though they're poor, they're freaking hungry, they're whatever. Uh, the security part is the most important. Like for them, is the most important part, and we'd be like, and they would sell everything, and that's what. Uh, and that's why you like why I'm saying like that's what the government has been show like telling the people, trying to show the people of Israel since, as far as I remember, that there's always an existential threat. There's always, oh, all these Muslims want to kill all Jews. Oh, the charter of Hamas saying like kill all the Jews, and no one is going to go fact check that. No one is going to go double check that. Oh, they want to kill us. Oh, something happened. A group did something. That doesn't mean everyone want to kill like all the Jews. That doesn't mean like all Arab and friggin' Israelis are
It's
partying in
true.
Dubai right now. You know,
It's true that not every Muslim wants to kill all the Jews. You're right. Or not even, yeah, they don't even want to hurt the
but
Jews. You're
that's
right.
what's being projected to the people. That's the fear that they're getting to the people.
Most of the people that I talk to know that not every single Muslim, or even the majority of Muslims, want um, Jews dead. It doesn't take a majority. Um, it doesn't take a majority. So I guess my question is, you said security, right? I guess how do we
Yeah,
get both sides to feel secure? And then you said Israel has to stop the bombings, right? Right.
yeah.
Um,
First, stop the bombing.
yeah.
Second, justice. Third, stop the lying. I think stop the lying should be first, but stop the lying
Well, the line
across
won't
the
stop.
board.
The line won't stop until
No,
people
but
feel
these
safe.
blatant lies are
It's not
very
that
harmful
one. Stopping the bombings is actually easier than stopping the lies because with the
because
free,
the bombing happened because of the lies, or the bombing
no,
happens
the
because of the
bombing,
lies,
no, the bombings. Well,
or the bombing is justified with
okay.
lies.
I want, I just want to push back a little bit and see your opinion about this. Um, I will agree with you that some of the bombings start with lies, but I personally, I could be wrong about this. I personally don't agree that every bombing is because of lies, because um when there was that 4-day ceasefire um in Gaza, Hamas was still launching rockets, not as much, but they were still launching rockets. And you can make the argument that Israel launched a rocket first. We could do this like all day, but Hamas was still launching rockets during a ceasefire. Um, and on October 7, they were still launching rockets, even October 8, October 9, when everybody's asking for a ceasefire. It was during when Hamas was still launching rockets under October starting from the October 7 offensive. So to say that Israel should just not drop the bombs, it's not fair because it would overwhelm the Iron Dome system, which is pretty effective. It's not perfect. The rockets are not that accurate, but they were launching tens of thousands, and the Iron Dome system does a pretty good job. But they had to mitigate that. So we had to this like that's my opinion about that, and you could push back on that on what I'm saying there.
My opinion, like I mean, what you have said can be debatable. I just don't want to get into like rabbit holes. Because again, it's all lies, like most of the time from the government to Israel, and
Well,
that's
it's
the
not
issue
fair to
that we're
say it's
having.
all lies. You could say 90%. It's not fair to say it's all
Yeah, I
lies.
mean, like I said, most of the time. So
Okay.
most of the time, it's lies, and
Okay.
to make and then that's and they're professional liars because again, they mix truth with lies to make it seem like a truth, right? And that's very dangerous. So what I'm saying is the if the lies are not the reason for the bombing, the lies are to justify the bomb. That's like it involves lies in
But
either one of these
are
situations.
there any bombings where it's not can I tell you something personal? And then I'm
Sure,
gonna
sure.
ask you this question. By the
But
way, if you need do you need like some water or something? Because
I have water here.
Yeah, well, yeah, because I'm enjoying this. If it feels like I get, like, frustrated at times, it's not really that, it's, I'm not frustrated, I'm actually enjoying this discussion.
I
Um,
appreciate that. I'm glad.
Thanks. So I'm Ukrainian. I mean, I was born in Ukraine, and when
Okay.
the Ukraine war started, I was pretty fucking mad at Russia, and I
Mm,
had a friend who was actually like justifying the invasion, and I was like, how the fuck could you justify it? There are women being raped and murdered and killed, and like, how could you justify anything like that?
mm,
And then he gave me his justification. He said the NATO expansion. It was mostly the NATO expansion, and I was like, "This is ridiculous. How could we?" I debated him for hours on that, and then I started doing more research, and I started seeing like about the coup that happened in like 2013 in Ukraine, and then how the Russian side wanted to separate from Ukraine, and Ukraine did not allow that. Instead, they waged a civil war. So it's like the western part could separate, but the Russian part cannot in the Donbass area.
yeah.
And then I saw how the United States was using Ukraine to instigate Russia into this war that's happening now.
Yeah.
I saw the NATO expansion. I saw how that was happening. I saw how they were trying to militarize Ukraine. Like I've seen, and the United States knew that Ukraine was a red line. You cannot cross it. And then I also saw all the media who hates right wing extremists and Nazis, they were censoring, they were blurring out like the Nazi patches that Ukrainians had, and Ukrainians did most of the killings of the Jews in Ukraine. It wasn't
Yeah.
like a, and I'm I'm seeing all that, and I don't. It doesn't mean now after seeing all this, it doesn't mean that I want Ukrainian citizens to be killed. But I also know there are some pretty bad Ukrainians, but it doesn't justify kind of what's happening. I just see that there's a
Mhm.
gray area, and there are
Yep.
some really bad Ukrainians. Um, I think it's the same. So I was wrong about a lot of things, and just because I knew that I was wrong, it doesn't mean that I think that the invasion is justified. I still don't think it is. It's the same thing here. I don't think that civilians. I think two even one innocent civilian death is too much. I think even a terrorist death
Yep.
is too much. Because I think the way I'm doing this, I want negotiations. I think it's possible even with terrorists on both sides, Netanyahu and Hamas, either or. I think it's still possible. And I think you said you wanted the truth. You wanted the truth. I think it's true that on October 7, Hamas stored up all these rockets and then launched all of them on that day to overwhelm the defense systems and to cause problems for Israel and to kill as many people as they can.
Mhm.
And I think that they were still launching them, and Israel could not allow them to continue launching those rockets. And I think they had to strike those buildings. And the fact that there are civilians there is terrible, or the places where they house arms is terrible. It doesn't mean
Mm.
that I want civilians to die. And most Israelis that I know and Jewish people that I know also don't want that to happen, for civilians to die. But I think we can't ignore that Israel, maybe 90% of the time that Israel did these strikes, it was due to lies. But I think it would be unfair to say that 10% of the time Israel had to destroy those targets.
So I don't want to be redundant or, repeat points, but basically you have to you always have to go to the root cause, right? Like it's it's unfair to take a snippet of the situation and make that the whole picture.
Well, if
Because
the root cause is what you're saying, that Israel came in and stole land, it's like, okay, so no matter what, Hamas will keep launching rockets and Israel will keep launching
as I
rockets.
said,
So
people,
what? What now?
but remember I said people were ready to move on. People were ready to ignore that and move on with their lives. But Israel was not allowing that to happen and they kept going. And that's the root
I don't
cause.
think it's fair. I don't think it's fair. Most of the people that I know just want Hamas to stop. launching
Yeah, but you
rockets.
don't know. But you don't know the government. You haven't talked to the Israeli government.
Well,
So
you haven't talked to the Hamas government either.
yeah, I'm not.
The
I'm
government
not
of
talking.
Gaza, the government of Gaza.
No, no. The even the government of Gaza that you talk about is not an actual government because there's not like, how do I say it? There's not actual
Okay, so let's say it's not a
sovereignty.
government. It's still leadership. We could call it
Yeah,
leadership.
it's. I'm not like disagreeing with the government uh, term, but I'm just saying that look what Israel is fighting against, right? It's besieged people for
No,
years.
I understand. So what are we gonna do about it? What would you like?
You should have removed this like this whole like mess a long time ago. You should have given these people the rights to live and exist as as you have the right to exist as well.
They had
And
it. They had it.
we had it when
Um, before when in 1948, before if if the Arab League didn't invade and tell the Muslims to leave the area,
but again you're again you're conflicting stuff with each other because and that's what I'm saying about the Israeli government uh, mixing lies with truth.
where was the lie?
So
Where was the lie that
the
what I said?
lie that the lie that implying that when when the whatever Arab nations that fought in this war, when they said, and by the way, it's not Muslim because these countries has a military that comprised of Muslims, Christians, and whatnot. So the fight was not between Muslims and Jews. The fight was between these countries and these countries, right?
Arab
Do you agree with that?
nations that were majority Muslim. I think Lebanon is not a majority Muslim, but I don't even know. Did Lebanon invade in 1948? I don't know.
Uh, I forgot to be honest, but I think it was Lebanon and Syria, maybe also.
I don't
But what
know.
I'm trying to say is, and also Israel was not alone. We had like uh, American and Britain government, the British with them as well. But what I'm trying to say is, I forgot my point. Let me remember. My point was the lie. Yes. So the lie in this point is saying they told people to leave. That's why people left. That implies that they didn't expel anyone, and people just left willingly
No,
because there
they
was a
did.
war.
They did. I will agree.
So
I'll agree because that's the
so that's
evidence.
the
The
thing. When you
evidence
put
is
these
there.
together, people, and that's the like the sort of lying that they do. They bring part truth, and they put the lies embedded in it, so
And
people
they
would think.
shouldn't. And they shouldn't.
Oh, this guy.
Okay. Oh,
Let me try to. Okay,
take your time.
say something.
Yeah, I was saying they shouldn't. They shouldn't lie about that.
Okay, I can hear you. So yeah, so
Even I
uh,
do that sometimes, and I have to catch myself. I think I need to be more neutral about that. I need to say the Nakba, the Jews actually did expel the Muslims
exactly.
even violently,
It
and
wasn't because the Arab countries said to people just move because we're gonna destroy everything. It wasn't that.
from what I read, it was both.
No, it
From what I
was
read, it
that's
was
what I'm
both.
saying. Like the
Okay, okay,
part truth is that
okay,
they told people to leave, but not everyone left, and not a lot of people left because
yeah,
people don't want to leave their country. They want to leave their farms. They don't want to leave their houses. People
yes.
in general, they want to stay and put. And I've heard that from a lot of people because I know people also been to wars like or uh, were there during like the 73 war, 1973 war between Egypt and Israel. And uh, people just didn't just like, oh, there's a war, we'll leave. No, random people would just take anything from their house and fight against the the invaders, right?
Can I ask you something?
Right.
Why do you think I'm not disagreeing with you about the Nakba and some were a lot, I don't know the exact figures, but a lot of Muslims were violently killed to get them out of the land in 1948. I'm not going to disagree there because I've seen like the interviews and stuff, and it would be screwed up of me to say that's all lies.
Mm.
Um, but I think, but also 20% of the Muslims in Israel during that war, they were allowed to stay there, and I guess I'm curious to know like why do you think Israel allowed those Muslims to stay there?
So they can say they're secular government and they're democratic and oh, and that's what they do now. Whenever you talk to like uh, uh, someone, they say like from Israel, they'd be like, oh, well, however, like how many, 2 million or something. Muslims are living in Israel with full rights, no problems with them. But in
Yeah,
reality, that's not the full truth. Again, this the same way they do like these lies that are partially truth. So they are living in Israel. They have like a good amount of rights, but they're still in their communities like they're separated. They kind of like, oh, this is the Arab uh, uh, district or Arab place where Arabs live, and they don't have. If they want to go, like, they don't like. If they want to go to a hospital, they have to travel that many miles or go this to a far place out of their Arab uh,
from what you're
nation.
saying, it seems like no
And
matter what Israel does, no matter
it's
what
not no
Israel does,
matter.
it's
No,
not
no.
enough. It's not enough.
Listen.
They're in
So
their
what I
own
do.
neighborhoods. They have equal rights. So what then? Now we need to for them to be in a perfect distribution with the perfect hospitals, with the perfect
No, no,
everything.
no. And that's what I'm saying. I'm saying justice, right? We talked about justice in the beginning, and that's one of the most important thing, right? So,
Justice
when,
is subjective. Justice is not going to stop the bombings now. We could talk about justice after, but justice the bombings are not subjective. Justice is so subjective, and it depends on whether you're a social justice warrior, if you're in the center or on the left. That's what justice would depend on. Um,
we can,
and
yeah,
people
we
keep
can
saying
agree.
justice, and it's just an excuse to prolong this conflict. I don't like that
But
term
we
justice.
can agree that like a good amount of justice would be to have a like same scale for everyone, right? That's the biggest thing about justice is to not judge with two scales. Yeah, the same scales for
Justice
everyone
is
should agree with
very
that. That
ju-
shouldn't
ju-
be subjective.
justice would be punishing a group of people that may or may not have done harm. So some of the people in the Israeli military who may have done extra harm, they should be punished more. But then somebody who hasn't done anything, somebody who's like maybe immigrated there or born there, why should they have to like, for example, okay, justice. We could debate the justice thing.
No, no, but I'm saying like the
Okay,
same scale. Like when I'm if I stole and you stole, I can't go and be like, oh, you take 1 year and you'll take 3 years. We stole the same thing with the same situation. No, we have to take the same amount of years or whatever to in prison, right? So that's what I mean about justice is the biggest part is having the same scale for everyone. Does that make sense?
it's never gonna be the same. For example, IQ in a family, it goes down. The firstborn has the highest IQ, and the lastborn always has the lowest, usually has the lowest IQ. Same thing, two people could commit the same crime, the same exact crime, for example, in the judicial system here, then one person is just gonna have like a bad vibe, or they've actually done studies, the judge, it could be the end of the day, and then they could just give them a higher or prejudice against
Which
black
is not
people or white
just.
people. It's
No,
not,
it's
yeah.
not justice.
So it's never going to be equal justice. Could we get to, okay, if you want the thing that's closest to justice, we could agree on that.
Yeah, exactly. Uh, so that's what I'm saying. Like when like even if I can see it and said, okay, like 2 million people are living like their best lives in Israel, and they're having like whatever equal rights they can do that they have. Uh, uh, it's still like it's still that there are a lot of all these other Palestinians that don't have any rights and don't have any. They're like basically
I'd like to change that. Like, you mean in the West Bank and Gaza? I'd like to change that.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, so, so with removing that like whole um, uh, like barrier between like what people should, how it should be, people be treated. Uh, I just lost my train of thought because I think I have to go because I have to do stuff for the house. I forgot about it. But
Yeah,
yeah, what I'm trying to say is, yeah, if we can get to that, that people are uh, like Palestinian people can have their own sovereignty and they without or a one state, like we said, like either two state where everyone is treated equally, or one state where everyone's treated equally as well. But we can't have what's happening right now because it's it's unjust, and the problem is the biggest problem is that the powers of the world are with the oppressor, and that's the issue because, and that's what's going to make the
the powers of the
problem
world or what?
with the like with
No,
the
they're not.
oppressor.
No, they're not. The United States is, but all the media except Fox, CNN, ABC, Washington Post, ABC, MSNBC, they're all siding with Israel. Iran is siding with Israel. The EU, I'm sorry, the UN is no, not no. Iran is siding with Palestine. Everybody's siding with Palestine except like American Christians and stuff. Like that's it. And Fox News.
I'm talking
Everybody
about the
else.
governments. The governments of the whole world are siding with the biggest powers of the world,
Well, this
which
is one
is
thing I know you.
UK,
I know you have to
America.
go. I know you have to go, but um and I would like to finish this discussion with you because I think that we could actually get somewhere. I know we
Yeah,
talked a lot about the details and stuff. I think we could actually get somewhere. The security thing. If we could
yeah,
get if Israel would not need the United States if it felt secure. And maybe you're right. Maybe you're right. None of the Muslim countries want to invade Israel. They don't want any of the lands, but from what I saw with what Jordan and Egypt did, they did the same exact colonization thing that Israel is doing now. They didn't give sovereignty to they didn't give a Palestinian state um to Palestine either. They colonized it and then they attacked them with Black Tuesday or whatever. They did the same exact thing. So it shows me that all those surrounding countries they don't give a fuck about Palestine either. Even just as so like if they don't care about their own people there, why would they how could Israel feel safe about itself if they don't even care about the Palestinian people? So and the Palestinians don't feel safe. You don't feel safe with the people there. So how could we create that safety? And then you said Israel has to stop bombing. And then I told you that when everybody was asking for a ceasefire, Hamas was still sending rockets. So
yeah.
like what can we do about that?
Yeah, it's just abiding with international law. That's the answer. Just abide with
Well,
international law. Everyone abide with international law. What you
well then
mentioned is just again.
Gaza has to do the same thing. They don't abide by the international law.
I mean, again, if they don't abide with international law, the international law should have uh, the international law should have the ability to either sanction them, have like they do with any other country, right? But the problem is now we're getting to a point where international law is disregarded by Israel. So now no one would care about international law in the future because there's like friggin' like genocide happening and no one is doing anything about it. So
Yeah.
why would any other country take? But if international law is taken seriously and it's actually like being utilized the way it is, none of that would happen. Like,
If international law was being taken seriously, then
yeah,
all of Gaza would burn.
would what?
All of Gaza would burn because of what
Burn?
Gaza has. Yeah, burn because what
Oh no.
Gaza's because of the terrorism that they're causing
So
against
does the
Israel.
international law allow Israel to go into an occupied territory and bomb the heck out of it?
Yes,
No, it
if
doesn't.
it does, if there's a threat, which there is, if you're saying that Gaza's not sending rockets into
So
Israel to try to overwhelm the defenses, then I don't know what like how could we have How could we have this discussion if you're saying that Gaza's not doing anything wrong?
So
How?
let's start by international law. International law prohibits Israel from putting a siege around Gaza. International law prohibits Israel from what is it called? Not allowing Palestinian fishermen to go beyond a certain area and like part of the besiege, the siege that they're doing from all
But
directions. That's
international law doesn't allow Gaza to send rockets into Israel either.
well, I think the rockets started when Israel did all of this, right? When
Did all
Israel,
of what? No, no. When
no,
Israelis were coming in 19, this was before 1948. The Muslims were killing, were trying to genocide the Jews also. They had pogroms. They put Jews in ovens and they burned them alive and they raped them. That was before 1948 in
when was that?
Palestine.
Where was that?
Look, you said it yourself. There were multiple pogroms. You
Yeah,
said it, yeah.
but these are like not like not a people that are like, oh, we'll kill all the not people like being like, oh, we'll kill all the Jews and agreeing on it. It's like
But
incidents. It's like
it feels that way
if
to them. It feels that way to them, so they have to feel safe. So if we
to feel
could,
safe by killing other people, it doesn't
no,
make
they don't want.
sense.
I'm telling you, they don't want to kill all the people.
But that's what is happening.
They don't want to do it.
But that's what is happening.
So if Hamas stops sending rockets, Israel will stop sending their rockets, their
Okay, so
missiles.
how about the humanitarian aid? How about the food, water, electricity,
Look,
fuel?
you can't.
When you do that and you tell me they don't want to kill all the people, that doesn't make sense. Like whoever
Yes, it
does
does.
that
Yes, it
wants to
does.
kill all the people.
Yes, yes, it does. It does make sense. Remember what happened with Japan?
What
And
happened with the Japan?
Japan launched an attack and it killed 2,000 Americans.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was. We could say it's unprovoked, but it was an unprovoked military attack. Was the United States supposed to just allow that to happen?
So they dropped two atomic bombs.
They did something. The atomic bombs. They
So that,
did. They did ratings. They dropped
so
five.
that's okay.
Is it okay for Japan to do what it did?
I mean, like I'm not defending Japan. I don't care about like
Thank
what
God.
I don't know what the like
Thank God,
the
you know.
circumstances were at that time. But when Japan did that, who did they target?
The military,
Okay, when America did that, who did they target?
the military, and then when the military didn't surrender, the
Freaking
civilians.
two whole cities.
You're thinking you're doing the propaganda thing too. They did raids and they burned down cities
Yeah,
that killed even more people than those two atomic bombs. You're just thinking atomic bombs. You're thinking with your emotions. What the Americans did was even worse without those atomic bombs. They did something even worse. The Japanese they just thought that America had more of these atomic bombs, and then
yeah. So why are
they
you comparing it?
I'm comparing it because what you're doing is you're saying that hey, if a country does something terrible to another person, that other country has no right to respond.
No, it does have the right to respond, right?
Okay, so Israel is responding the
But
same way the United States
but
responded.
but here's the like the biggest thing. It has the right to respond first if uh if it has like actual measures of how it's going to respond without like killing civilians, right?
Hamas didn't care about killing civilians, so they don't have to care about killing civilians, but Israel has to care about it. Are you serious?
So what you're saying is Hamas has the right to go into Israel and kill them because Israel before that in many years they didn't care about civilians and they killed civilians. So that's what you're basically saying. If they don't
What?
care about civilians, we don't care about civilians as well.
I'm saying that both sides are gonna keep doing this until when, and that's why my question
No,
to you
but
was my
that's
question to you was, um,
who is
what
being
common
held
goal,
accountable right now.
dude? Do you want to have the
Who's
common
being held
goal?
accountable?
What do you, if okay? What happens if Israel stops launching bombs?
People stop dying, except for starvation for sure.
Well, wow. So there's something wrong with that. If Israel stops launching the bombs, Hamas is still sending rockets. They did it with a
So
ceasefire.
so again, this is again. I don't want to go into actual details, but
It's important.
I'm
Okay.
not the lawyer of Hamas, right? But what I'm seeing right now is not about Hamas, the killing, the starvation, all these things. How are they targeting Hamas by doing this? How are they stopping Hamas? Like, how is it gonna stop? What is the end goal of
So what
Israel?
should
What
Israel
is the end
do?
goal?
So what should Israel do?
Basically,
This is the perfect place that me and you're in right now. That
yeah,
hopelessness. It's
yeah.
perfect. The hopelessness of like, okay, I know, you know Hamas is sending rockets, but you also know that Israel is retaliating and civilians are dying. You know that. You don't want them to send any more rockets, but you also know that if they do, then they're gonna keep trying to then Hamas will keep trying
No,
to
but
target Israelis.
Hamas proposed again. I'm not the lawyer of Hamas, but they proposed like a ceasefire, whole
There
ceasefire
was a
for the
ceasefire. There was a ceasefire,
for the release. No, but
and there
again,
was.
again what Hamas said at that time. They sent those rockets or they did these things because Israel didn't stop their aggression in the West Bank. So
Okay,
there
all
is a
right. So
ceasefire,
so
but why
it,
would you
okay,
still kill people in the West Bank?
all right. So
You know what I'm
with
trying to say?
what you're saying, what you're saying is it's
Israel will
not.
never
They're not.
stop
Israel
until
is
she's
not.
it's not getting accountable. It's not being held accountable.
Okay,
If
so
Israel's not
okay,
being held accountable, it's never going to stop. That's basically
but that
the end.
but for some reason you don't want to negotiate a way for us to stop it. I'm trying to negotiate this, and you're like, well, it's never going to stop. Why?
No, it's never going to stop. That's the negotiation. The negotiation is for Israel to stop because Israel is the one that has the full military, the power, the bombs, all these things.
They have
Once they
stopped
stop,
the West Bank stuff.
when did they stop?
The there was a ceasefire. I don't know how to get this through your head. I really don't.
I know that
I'm
before
not trying to be I'm not
it
trying to
was
be
like
rude. I'm not trying
three
to
or
be
two
rude.
for 4 days or something like
There
that.
was
But
there,
they were still killing people in the West Bank. How's that a ceasefire?
all right. So no matter what, you're
What do
just
you
gonna
mean? No
keep
matter what,
you're gonna keep thinking.
you already
But
said one civilian is too much.
why are they killing the civil why are they killing people in the West Bank?
And you asked them. Why are you asking me?
Because they keep doing terror acts.
But did you see who they killed? They killed a 9 year old and he was, I think, 11 years old.
Are they targeting 11-year-olds and 9-year-olds?
That's what it seems like.
That's what it seems like, but
Yeah.
it's not. It's not what's happening.
How do you know that's not what's happening?
You're
So
in.
you see a video. Listen to me. You see a video of a kid running and then shot from the back. How's that? Like, how am I going to see that and be like, oh, this soldier probably had a reason. He probably had a reason. Why would
I told you about the kid who
you
got
know what I'm
shot
trying
through
to say?
the wall. I told you about the kid who got shot through the wall. It happens.
Yeah, but that's not what I'm saying. Like what I'm saying is there was a video of a 9 year old and his brother. They were playing and they got killed.
All right.
Why? That's the
Look,
question.
look.
The release deal.
If
Remember,
you,
they
if we,
released the
if
people
you,
and then they went back and captured some of them again. Israel, right? So here's the thing. Like Israel knows it doesn't think because if I said think, I would be lying. They know that no one's going to hold them accountable, and that's what Netanyahu is saying. He's saying
I don't want to talk about
Biden said
Netanyahu.
to me to do this and do that, but I don't care. I'm going to do this. Basically, like kind of what he said, right?
You're ignoring. I am taking into account the way that
Yeah,
the Palestinians are feeling, the people of the West Bank and Gaza.
yeah,
I'm taking into account that I said the colonization, the genocide,
yeah.
whatever you want to call it. I'm taking into account the way that they're feeling.
I'm glad.
You, for some reason, I have no fucking idea why. You don't want to take into the account of how the Israelis are feeling. And it's not fair
I'm
that
taking
I
into
do
account
that. No,
how
you're
Israelis are
not.
feeling.
No, you're not.
I'm taking into account how they're feeling, but
Do you remember what happened in Intifada?
their feelings are built upon psychological manipulation from Israel's government.
They're being killed, and you're saying that they're being manipulated.
Who's being killed?
Israelis.
Well, like now,
Yes, now. Are you You see, this is the problem. I know what's happening in the West Bank. I know what's happening in
So so
Gaza. You don't
so
know what's happening in Israel.
no, I know. One few days ago, a guy killed one person, injured 11 or something, right?
It's almost every single day that something like that is happening.
Okay, so that is again, we go back. That's the problem. Like I already addressed that issue, that the issue of individuals doing
You're
bad things.
saying, but it's not. But it's gonna keep. Okay, but
How
then when individuals
how
do
is
bad
that
things,
equal? How
when
is that equal to
individual,
a government?
I'll tell
A
you, I'll
government
tell you, I'll tell
doing
you,
bad things.
I'll tell you. Individuals are doing bad things,
Yeah,
and the government is going after the individuals, and in their war to go after them, civilians die. Same way in Mexico, the government is going after the cartel, and civilians die. Same way in America. How we went after terrorists in Afghanistan and Iraq, and civilians died. If
you're
it
you're
if the
you're
cartel
making your
stopped,
point like you're ruining your point by giving these examples. But
civilian, if
what
they
happened?
just
What
if
happened
they
in
just
Afghanistan?
oh, Afghanistan was terrible. Okay, what America did there
20
was
years, right?
terrible. What
Huh?
what if well, I was talking more about like the invasion of
Yeah,
Iraq in
that doesn't.
2004.
If America does it, that doesn't make it right.
No, it's not right.
Okay, so why are you giving it as an example?
Well, America invaded under the false pretenses of
Which is wrong.
the yeah, which
Which
is
is
wrong,
wrong. So why are you
which is
giving it as
wrong.
an example?
Because Hamas is fucking launching the rockets. They're still the
If
Muslims
you
in the
give an
West Bank.
example to make
The
Israel look good, you should give a good example.
So what's Israel supposed to do when they're launching the fucking rockets? Are
So
you serious?
we were talking about the killing of civilians or the the Palestinians who kill civilians in Israel or in the West Bank, right?
They're not going out there targeting them. If they wanted to do that, they could kill every motherfucking civilian in the West
No, I'm
Bank.
talking about the
But
Palestinians killing Israelis.
the Palestinians killing Israelis. Okay, what about it?
That was the point that we were talking
Yeah,
about.
and Israel is
And you
trying to protect.
mentioned America invading Afghanistan for some reason. I'm just confused.
Why did I mention it?
I don't know. Why I'm asking you. I mean,
What
I
was
just got
the
confused.
what was the other
But
country that
let's
was
go back
like?
to the point. The point was that individuals do bad things. You can't equate that to governments doing bad things,
It
right?
doesn't matter. The government has the right to defend its citizens.
That's not what I'm saying.
Are you saying
When
the
a
government?
person,
Are you? Why are
when a
you?
person, when
You're
a person
saying
kills someone in the street,
yeah.
like let's say a Mexican goes in and kills an American in America, right?
Yes.
Do America go in and kill all, kill as much Mexicans as it can in Mexico?
No.
Exactly,
Exactly.
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 So what does Israel do?
Are you fucking serious? You just made your point like absolutely like you just destroyed your point.
Okay, tell me how.
Israel killed somebody in the West Bank
Yeah,
because they're trying to crack down on terrorism because there are
yeah,
individual terrorists there,
yeah,
and
yeah.
that gives justification for Hamas to send rockets.
Do you see what happened? You're now equating again that, like I said, a government with an individual, and
Hamas
that's
is
what I'm
not
saying is
Hamas is
not
the
supposed to
leader.
be done.
Hamas is the
So
leader.
no. That wasn't the example. The example was a guy from Palestine, right? Whatever Palestinian killed an Israeli. Why would that be used in the context of killing all freaking as much Palestinians as there is?
Because
Do you know what?
Hamas sent
Do you know that? Do you
rockets.
understand the point now? Because
Because do you know? Okay, do you know that on October 7th, Hamas? You said this. You said this. You said this.
yeah,
I'm going to tell you exactly what you said.
mhm,
Listen, I have it all recorded too. I'm going to tell you exactly
yeah,
what you said. You said that I was like, why could Hamas on October 7th send those rockets? And then you said that well, the people in the West Bank are still being oppressed, and there was somebody who got shot,
yeah,
and there are shootings um, of people in the West Bank by
yeah.
Israel, and then that gives justification for Hamas to send rockets. So it's
It's
the
not
same
about
exact thing.
justification. I'm saying you said back to the point. The point was the ceasefire. You said there was a ceasefire. I told you
Yes,
Israel broke the ceasefire first when they killed people in the West.
they have to kill people in the West Bank.
What the heck? I'm
They
saying they
have
killed a
to.
freaking 9-year-old. How do they have to kill that?
You're not.
I
Do you know
remember
they?
that incident. I remember that incident for like the 4 day ceasefire. They killed a 9 year old and 11 year old
Well,
that were playing on the street,
well,
and there's
okay.
a video of it from like
Look,
a CCTV
I don't
camera.
know. I don't know the exact thing that happened, but based on what you're
But
saying,
I
if
know, and
okay,
I'm telling you,
so if the U.S. if two police officers, the if or two soldiers kill a Mexican, two Mexican kids in America, does
yeah.
that give justification for Mexico to launch missiles into America?
If these official, if these are American, like you said, military, right? Military official military people that doing that in their military capacity, so that gives the Mexico the right to not send rockets, because that's shouldn't be like the first thing that comes to your mind, but should retaliate in a way, or condemn that in a way, or act upon that in a way, because that is when an American is killed in in a foreign country by the government, America takes that as an attack on America, right? Same way any country should do. If you attack a citizen from my country in your country by your officials, not a random guy killing the people on the street, by your officials, that means you're basically like attacking the country. Does that make sense? But what you're equating again is a random person in the street killing an Israeli, and the actual soldiers of the military
If an
of
actual
Israel
if an actual
killing
soldier
people.
if an actual soldier targeted kids in the West Bank on purpose,
Yeah,
it's terrible, it's horrible. There has to be justice for that. There
that's
has to
good.
be justice for that.
That's good.
I'm not
That's good.
disagreeing. I'm not disagreeing with you
And
there.
that's a good
But I also
point.
know,
Yeah.
but there has to be justice for the people who did the killing, which Israel has punished its own soldiers sometimes, but it also, as to your point, it has not punished the
No,
soldiers.
a person who kills civilians, whether it's like if it's Palestinian, he should go and face justice. And like if convicted, go to jail, or like whatever system is, like if it's like whatever shooting by
If you killed
arrows,
if you
whatever
killed
system they
somebody
have.
if you killed like a civilian without any instigation or whatever, you just targeted somebody. Like I saw a video of Russian soldiers just killing a Ukrainian like for no reason. Like I've seen
Yeah.
that. Yes, they should be absolutely punished. In the United States, we have
No,
the
but I'm talking
cops.
about the Palestinians as well. If a Palestinian did that and it's unprovoked, civilian didn't do anything, all these things, yeah, they should face justice. But you can't use that as be like all Palestinians are trying to kill us, or uh, that's why we kill people in the West Bank, or
No, that's not. Nobody's saying
because
that.
you
Nobody's saying
just
that.
need to watch more videos. I'm sure you watched how they go in. If this guy did, like one guy did something, they go into their house, they drag his mom, his children, they freaking put blinds on their eyes, take them in an undisclosed doors, take them into Israel, which is illegal under international law, and that's considered kidnapping as well. And they interrogate them, they freaking torture them, and
Well, you said the perfect
you know
thing.
what
One
I'm
guy
saying? Like
did. You said the perfect thing. One
you see
guy
my point.
did something. We can't protect criminals. We cannot protect them. Do you remember? Do you know what happened
What
in?
do you mean?
We can't. Did you see what happened
How
in
do you
El
know that they're
Salvador?
protecting them? Where's the justice then? You have to.
You're protecting them. You're protecting the criminals. The same way
You mean their parents, like their house?
I would not protect the Israeli soldier who targets a like a Palestinian. I would not protect him. The same way
Yeah,
we
but
can't protect guys who did something
I'm
bad.
saying they can't find the guy, so they go to their house, bring his mom, his dad, or whoever in this house, and take them to Israel and torture them. How is that? How does that? How is that okay?
How is it okay for
What do they
someone?
have to do with the
How
crime? Your
how?
brother committed a crime.
But how is
That they
terrorism?
bring you and torture you to for the crime your brother committed?
I'll, we don't have a terrorist problem here.
No, I'm talking like I'm giving it like
It's
a
different.
example.
The West Bank,
It's
there are
it's
safe zones and there are very dangerous zones. In those dangerous zones, you have to the same with the
so
car.
the danger zones are all the Palestinian zones. I already know that, but uh, 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 the problem is like Israelis are not supposed to be in the West Bank in the first place,
Why
right?
not? They conquered that territory.
So you're So which point are you with? Are you with the international law? Because we agreed the international law should be upheld, right?
I don't
But
agree
under
with
international law, all these settlements in the
I
West
don't
Bank were
agree
illegal.
I don't agree with the settlements. I don't think that they should have done that.
Yeah, so why are they there?
But then when I hear people say the international law, Israel conquered those territories from Jordan, from Egypt. It's not Palestinian. It's Jordan and it's from Jordan. They conquered it legally. They took it legally. They could do
Um,
whatever they want there.
Again, that's taking us nowhere when you're basically
If you say go back to
adopting points that don't make any sense
if you
whatsoever.
want to
We're
say
not
get rid
gonna
of
go
if you
anywhere.
say get rid of settlements in Gaza and the West Bank, I could go with you there. If you wanted 67 borders, I could go with you there, right?
Yeah,
That's something like when Israel conquered the Sinai Peninsula, they used that as a bargaining chip, right? I'm okay with giving up land for peace, even if it's the West Bank, because like yeah, why are
yeah,
there
you're okay
settlements
with it,
there?
but the
Yeah,
government is not. The Israeli government is not, and they made that clear
they made it
a long
clear that
time
they
ago.
are because they were willing to give 95% of the control to Palestinian government during the Oslo Accords.
And again, I mentioned to you the
Yeah,
Oslo
you mentioned
Accord.
yeah, but if but now that you see what they want to do with the military, why would we have to
Why would
make
you? Why, why,
we
why
have to
why
make
would you go into an agreement? You have a
I would
lot of
do it.
familiarity with the term of like bad faith, right?
I would dude,
You can't
if
go into
I
an agreement with bad faith, right? And I actually have to go because my wife is getting upset. But
just
I'm
kidding.
really glad that I had this conversation with you. I mean, I the the only thing that I want to say is like with being with none of the like seeing it as not a football game and you have to side with one side makes you want to see like the justice as it is and not and the truth as it is and not whoever's I'm with or the side of whoever I'm with. I can I can say that like I'm an Arab and I can say all like the Arab governments are disgusting and they're all freaking
Don't
corrupt. And I'm not gonna be
I'm
like,
not
oh,
I'm
this
not
is my
saying that.
Arab brethrens and whatever.
I'm not saying that.
So no, but I mean like at the end, because you agreed with a lot of points with me, but then at the end when we started talking other stuff, you went back and then also uh, uh, like you started disagreeing again with the points that you already agreed with before, and then you started bringing back points that we already discussed, like Oslo Accord, for example. So like that shows a little bit of biasy that you might not have a lot of control over because of like your your uh, uh your internal biases that it's hard to get rid of, right?
I don't
But
have internal biases.
it, I mean
Well,
that's what
I
a
do,
person that has internal bias
but I'm saying that I want both. I do have internal biases. Sorry about that. But I was saying that I think that for us to find a solution, both sides have to feel safe, right? And
yeah,
you're
and you
saying,
can have
but
safety.
yeah, and you're saying, what do the Jews have to be afraid of? So that's an issue. That's an
No,
issue
no,
for
but
me.
that's having bad faith, right? It's going to an agreement with having bad intentions already about the other party. That's
Both
bad faith.
sides needing to feel safe is having bad intentions.
No, no, I'm saying like when you go in and be like, for example, as I said, like they have to have their military. Be like, oh, what are they going to do with the military? They'll attack us. That's bad faith.
It's how me and the rest of most of the Jewish people feel. If we could
So,
create a
what do you
if
think the
we
Palestinians feel after 75 years of occupation
all
and
right,
aggression?
so this is what we would
So
have to
that's why
negotiate.
we should
This is
do
what we would have to
compromise,
do.
both of us, right?
But this is what we would have to
Both of us, I mean,
negotiate.
like both of the parties. Hmm?
But this is what we would have to negotiate then. How do we create safety after all of the battle
No, no, as I said,
that's happened?
international law to be upheld. Whoever, like, both parties, because if Israel is not being held accountable for anything that it does, no one is going to care about the international law. But if international law applies to both parties and
You
you're having
want
applying the same standard, then safety is going to happen because that's how safety works. You don't have like, oh, you know, safety overnight. You have to have governing rules. For example, let me I'll give this point and then I'll have to go.
Yeah, we don't want your wife to be angry.
Because I mentioned the looting thing in America, right?
Yes.
That looting showed two things. First thing is not all Americans are looters, that's for sure. But the second thing is there are a lot of Americans are looters, right? But
Yes.
why don't we see that in day to day life? Because there are rules and laws that are governing us, and people who have these tendencies to do bad things, they don't do them because they're scared of these rules. The same thing would apply in that situation. If you have rules that are governing both parties with the same standard, and that's not happening right now. If it happened, then both parties, even if they have the tendencies to do bad things, they're not going to do that because they know there will be repercussions and there will be accountability. That's basically it.
What would you, when we end this call, what would you need from me to research and look up to to kind of understand your point even more?
You already know like most of the information that I mentioned. You already know it. Like you don't need that much research. You just need like I don't know how to describe it. Just empathy.
I
Put
have
your
empathy.
put your put your
I
shoe in, put your leg, put your foot in the shoe of the people,
I am.
and
I
put
am.
yourself in that position. Would you be like if they offered you peace and to live a normal life? Would you live it, or you choose still to be? And if you like as a person chose to just live a peaceful life, don't don't think that the majority of Palestinians would not choose that because we're all people at the end of the day. And whatever indoctrination that you think people has, it's 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 not as you think. People get indoctrinated because their parents were killed. Or what do you think the children that saw their parents being pulled out of the rubble, or the parents that saw the children being pulled out of the rubble these days,
No.
like
The
what they
Jewish,
gonna
no,
do when they
no.
grow up?
It's not
And that's the
okay. I
thing.
wanted to I wanted to actually mention that. I will work on the empathy thing, and I would like for you to work on the empathy thing too towards the
I feel
Israeli
empathetic
people.
for Israelis a lot
Okay.
because I feel their government is manipulating them, and that's how I feel about my own people. I'm Egyptian. I feel my own people are being manipulated by their own government. It's not a bad it's not like a bad thing to feel. It's a bad thing to happen, but it's not a bad thing to feel about the people. It's not that means they're stupid. No, it just means that the government is so powerful that it basically controls a lot of aspects of their life and their security, especially that makes them feel that, oh, if we don't go with this government, like you said, now Netanyahu has a lot of like people that praise him because, oh, he's like our savior or whatnot, and like saving us from these bad people. But in reality, it's all of like an act to actually make people scared. And if there was not a threat, and that's what even 90% of the governments do that. If there's not a threat, the government will invent a threat to make the people under control. So, and you should already know that by like looking into any politics or history in the world. So
I
I'm
want
assuming you know that.
I agree with a lot of what you said. Just I wanted to mention one thing like an hour ago, but I never got a chance to say it. The Jewish people were not when they were occupied by Nazi Germany, they were not going out and killing civilians, even though that they were being exterminated.
Yeah.
I wanted to mention that. Not all
I mean,
people who
I'll look that up because I think I heard there were people that are fighting against the Nazis,
there
and
were
there were
small groups that were fighting against the Nazis, but they weren't
yeah.
killing civilians. They weren't targeting civilians.
Even Hamas said they're not targeting civilians.
Well, to the Israel, it feels that
So
way.
so you can
To
say
Israel, okay, but to Israel, it feels that way.
they don't feel
They
that
could
way.
say, they could what?
You saying they don't feel that way? You
They
saying
do feel that way. Israelis feel that way.
they feel that the Hamas is targeting civilians?
Yes, they feel that way. So
I mean,
if you could get them to
I
feel something
understand
else,
how they could feel that
all
way,
right.
but
And if they feel like
that's
they are, then they're going to do
that's
bad
what
things.
I mean that's what I'm saying. I'm saying like uh, the targeting of civilians in both ways is not going to get any benefit, zero benefit, exactly zero.
Good.
So so it's you know it's despicable basically to do that or to think that will
I'm
bring out
glad I'm
any
glad that
benefit.
me and you agree on the targeting of civilians on either side is like
Yeah, yeah. I
it's
mean,
bad.
that's the right thing to do, and that's why we should call on the uh, Israeli government to stop like the killing, because again, the people of Israel will never feel safe if all these kids grew up knowing that these people killed their parents and made them homeless and made them starving. That will never bring up peace. That will never bring up
Can, can,
stability.
can
That will
I
bring up
can I ask you something?
for sure.
If Israel, let's say we actually did do what you're saying, which I wish
Yeah,
it would work, but let's say Israel's like, okay, even if Hamas keeps sending rockets for the next 3 days, we're not going to kill any more Palestinians, right?
yeah.
Whether even in defense, they could do whatever they want to our civilians. They could rape them, burn them alive, execute them, whatever the Palestinians do, we're not going to kill any more Palestinians for the next 3 days, right? Let's say they do that, and they do exactly what you want, right? Um,
That's not what I want, but keep going.
okay, but let's say they do that, and then let's say no more, all Palestinian people are dead, are dead. I'm sorry, no more Palestinian deaths by the Israelis at all, by the military. The
Okay,
military has no more bullets,
okay,
and then on the fourth day they say, okay, now if you send one rocket, we're gonna go and do exactly what we did before.
okay.
Would you be okay with that form of ceasefire?
Yeah, I mean, if and that's what similar to that, what Hamas proposed to eh, uh, ceasefire. I forgot the exact term, but one thing was a permanent ceasefire and the return of all the hostages from the Israeli hostages, and the and in turns getting all the Palestinian prisoners off of they didn't indicate like the ones that were not convicted of a crime, because there are a lot of like ones that are under detention. What is it called? Like administrative detention. But I'm assuming that's what they meant. The people that were like basically kidnapped. So getting all these out, and it's at least there's no killing. People will get out from here. Hostages will get out from here, and they're the one who proposed it. So why would they propose something that they want to breach? But Netanyahu didn't accept. And there are governing. Usually, there are governing. It's not like the Israelis are talking to the Hamas right away. There are like always mediators, like either Egypt, Jordan, other countries, sometimes the UAE in or Qatar in the middle. So these people are. I don't know if you had like conflicts in the with friends before, but sometimes when we used to have that in the street, we would bring someone that we all trust or we all think that this guy is not going to put himself in a bad position, look bad for any of us, and we'll be like, okay, I agree to do this, and the other guy be like, I agree to do this, and we say that in front of him, and he's like, okay, if any of you breach that or do like bad thing, I'll punish the one that does that, or so stuff like that. It's just not complex. We used to do it like when we were kids in the streets. So imagine freaking big adults, they can't freaking do that, which shows again that uh, 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 there's not an actual uh, what is it called? Like Israel does that. Like the government of Israel doesn't really want to seize the fire and want to keep going. You want to keep killing more civilians, and it's disgusting. That's basically my final comment. And I'm glad I had this conversation with you,
Yeah.
Alexander. Right?
Yeah, yeah. Thank you for yeah,
Appreciate it.
again, a lot of respect for you doing this. I've been actually outside with like signs before, talk
Uh,
to me about the war and stuff, and people who are so passionate about it,
yeah,
they walk right by. So I'm glad that you did this. Thank you very much. And
I
sorry that it
appreciate
got a
it.
little
And if you
heated.
can send me if you can send me like the video, I'll appreciate
I'll
that as
try
well.
to like edit it and then I'll send you like a link
Okay,
to it.
that'll be
Yeah.
great. Okay,
All right. All
appreciate
right.
it.
Have a
Thank
good
you.
time and good luck with the wife.
All right, thank you. Take care.